Oh, good evening. The rare evening stream, the even rarer weekend stream. I really wanted to do this a lot earlier, but I mentioned how things get the better of me. Hey, Chaoclips, things get the better of me. And today, well, starting last night, what got the better of me was what was I watching? I was watching a kung fu flick that I actually had seen before. It's one of the earlier ones. It was from the early 70s. I think it was. Hey, Mercurius. Wow, Calculus. I forgot you're on the other side of the world in Singapore, right? So, all right, 8 a.m. Nice early, got an early start going. It was called, was it Fearsome Fighters? I think it was on Amazon Prime. It's not quite what I was looking for. Well, it is and it isn't. Fearsome Fighters, it's from the early 70s. So it's, to me anyway, it's not quite, hey, Brian Smith, it's not, wow, Mercurius also in the morning. So you're further east than Chaocalypse, Mercurius. Where are you? In Japan and Philippines? Australia? It's an early 70s. I want to say 72. And I think it's kind of before, I don't know the timeline very well. I think of like the height of kind of wire, the kind of classic Shaw Brothers wire food with people flying all over the place and got kind of crazy powers. That's really what I was looking for. I think I struck a little bit early in I'm just flipping through Amazon Prime. I wanted to watch a kung fu movie. And this one, I guess the bottom line is the kung fu is not that good. It's interesting, the heroes, the actors are kind of a little bit older. They're not as fit. Like the main hero, he's not that he's fat or anything, but he's not Gordon Liu or someone like that, right? Or certainly not a Bruce Lee type. And they do the bit with the jumping, but they don't really jump. They kind of go, yeah, and then they just appear somewhere. Like the fight choreography is not as good. Some of the things, I love the jumping and stuff. I love when you can actually see them kind of jumping. Or again, this one's like they go like, and then they just kind of show them landing somewhere else. The fighting is just not very good, I think, in terms of choreography. It's just very kind of simple. And again, the guys they're a little bit slow. So some of the things they do and the way they react to it, I think in retrospect, certainly you look back at it and you're like, how really? But it does have some fun powers. Oh, Calcub says it there. Found out their dad was once a background stunt actor in some Shaw Brothers movies. That is awesome. Hey, Warrior King. Yeah, Brian asked, what in the world are we doing here at this ungodly hour? Good question. It's pretty much an ungodly hour for everyone. So Fearsome Fighters, but it's got some fun stuff. I love things where guys have like these, or gals, and it's cool because they have some lady swordsmen in there, which I always appreciate when it's like it's the kung fu is not sort of gender limited, and this is not one of those movies where the lady's just these damsels in distress, right? They're out kicking butt too. But you got one of the guys called like the Soul Killers or something, and they've got these two kind of funky blades. Another one's got this like bronze, not shields really, but these bronze discs that he can basically make like though again, the special effects, granted we're talking the early 70s, but still it's like he does like a little wee wee wee, and then there's like a little explosion goes off, but essentially it's like he can make a laser beam or some kind of intense light beam, though they don't actually show the light beam. And the other guys got like, I think he calls them like the devil snatchers or the demon things, but it just doesn't look good. It's like it looks like black cloth with some, not even, it's like they didn't even make it metal. It's like, I don't even know, maybe it's some stiffer fabric to make metal claws that sort of, so he's like wearing these mittens, but their heart's in the right place. And there's a guy called One Man Army, which is kind of fun. And he's got something where he's got a sword, but then at some point, if you kind of, it's like if you get him bloodied and he's like, oh, I got to take it up a notch, the blade becomes two. Then at one point he does something and kind of multiple arms kind of come out, but he doesn't really do that. There's some neat stuff in there. I don't know if I would recommend it if you want something really serious. It's kind of fun, but I wouldn't rank it in my top. I don't even know what my if I could rank my top ones, but if you haven't seen it before, and you don't mind it being a little bit slow, and there's a kind of really funny bit at the end. I'm just gonna spoil it. It's like, this movie's older than I am. The guy, basically the hero, this a one-man army. He's kind of the mini boss, and there's a lot of the movie where they're kind of getting to the fight. So there's kind of the setup, which is about some stolen gold, and one guy gets. They're kind of two. They're not. I don't know if they're technically brothers. I think they are actual brothers. They're in the same sort of warrior kind of fighting clan, but they're also brothers. And one brother steals a bunch of gold, and because the other brother doesn't want him to do that, and he says you're going to dishonor us, and blah blah blah. Well, he ends up. What's the word I'm looking for? He ends up framing the evil brother, frames the good brother for it, and kills the good brother's family. And then this other guy who wants to try to get the gold helps the good brother break out of prison, really because he's thinking the good brother's going to lead him to the gold, which he does. And then, of course, they realize that, oh, you're actually a good guy. And they have some fights. They got to go. And they kind of get to where the bad guy is. The bad guy has decided to spend at least some of the gold on hiring all the killers, all the best killers to be there to defend him from the guy, and one of them being one-man army, and those devil, whatever, the soul takers or whatever they call them, and the devil, whatever. And so they end up, they have some okay fights. It would have been, man, I just feel like if you fast forwarded and placed that movie a couple years later with maybe some younger guys, and just where I feel like in that heyday, it would have been, man, I just think of what this movie could have been. That's one more thing, like, man, if they would remake that in like 1978 or so maybe not, it would have been like, oh my gosh. Awesome. In any case, the funny thing is one man army beats the lead guy, and then the evil brother shows up, and they don't want to just kill him. They kind of kick him off a cliff. But essentially it's like, okay. And I'm looking at him like, wait a minute, how much time is left in this movie? And it's like 10 minutes left. I'm thinking 10 minutes left. What's going on here? And of course, he just happens to land in some ravine, and then like his old master lives in a cave over there, and then gives him these invincible weapons turns, which could have been a whole thing in of itself. Or basically, they don't talk about any of it. He's like, I'm going to give you these. I'm going to turn your arm and your leg into these invincible weapons. You should probably put invincible in quotes, right? But there could have been a whole other moment here where essentially what it would seem like, if you read between the lines, the guy had to amputate an arm, or at least part of an arm, amputate part of his leg, and then replace them with gadgets. He basically has like a gadget leg where it can basically, his arm and his leg can basically spring out and stab into things. And it literally even has the wire so he can, I guess, reel it back in somehow. This all happens with like minutes left in the movie. It's really kind of like, why are you doing this now? Why didn't you do this earlier? And boy, convenient that the guy's old master happens to be living in a cave down there. That happens to also be right by where the old brother's hanging out. Of course, he wins at the end. And there's a little bit of a love interest. There's some fun stuff in there. But that ending, or that bit where it's like, oh yeah, with 10 minutes left in the movie, I'm basically on a Deus Ex Machina waiting for you to be killed, give you some new weapons, and send you back out to finish the job. I'm surprised someone didn't come back and said, hey, why don't we do this a little bit differently? And then, poor one-man army gets totally ganked because, he won. I mean, he did beat the guy. And they ends up getting beat because he doesn't know the guy has these new invincible weapons. And of course, at one point he's in a spot, and the guy just launches his foot, or maybe his arm and foot into the guy. And how is he supposed to know? He couldn't have trained. He couldn't have trained for that. Anyway. One-man army is cool. So, but this did make me think. Obviously, this is apropos of nothing. It did make me think. Maybe someone to do a separate stream on. But the idea of picking up an epiphet, because in those kung fu movies, at least some of them, you have these guys that have these cool names. Like this movie was full of guys. I got the devil. I'm the one guy was like the lightning whipper. This is the original. Oh, that was the other thread. So the guy who was guarding the gold at the beginning, who gets killed, is this guy with a whip. It's a terrible looking whip. It doesn't look like a whip at all. It really just looks like a length of rope. It is awful. And it's not impressive. In fact, they rarely use it in the movie because it just looks bad. And the devil ripper, so the guy who ends up getting the good brother out of prison is the lightning ripper's son, who has inherited the lightning ripper whip, which is horrible. but it's a cool idea. So you have this guy like, oh my gosh, the Lightning Ripper. Oh my gosh, this is one man army. And I thought it'd be neat, maybe a hero thing, like you get the 4th level, and part of that thing is you can kind of give yourself an epiphany, or maybe if you do something, I don't know how I want to do it, where it's like, okay, you reach heroic level. What is your epiphany now? Something that people are going to know you by. I'm not sure how I want to rig it in the game, but I really like that idea of characters reaching certain levels and getting this kind of name that they could, maybe they give it to themselves. I mean, in the movies, they never talk about how this name comes up. It's either you've done something horrible, so they'll call you like King Killer or something, like you're the, like whatever, the like Kingslayer, like in Game of Thrones, or it seems like someone like One Man Army gave it to him himself. It feels like he did. He's always like, they call me the Loner, or AKA One Man Army. It's like, all right, that's cool. But I like it. I see people in chat are talking about the raid. Yeah, the raid's really good. The raid is excellent. There was during the especially during the pandemic, I think they still do it. I want to say, I don't know what it was Variety or somebody would do these videos on YouTube where they'd bring in somebody to talk about stuff they do. And I remember they brought in the Tolkien professor to answer Tolkien questions, and they brought in James Hoffman, who's a big coffee guy, do coffee questions. I think they had these interviews with basically people about their stuff and maybe answering questions. And one of them with a guy who was an actor, kind of a B actor, but I think he was also is a stuntman. And he worked in a lot of those Tony Jaa and kind of movies over there. And he mentioned in those, and I think it was in that space, how they're kind of really hitting you. Well, the other one he mentioned was, what's his name? Shoot. I forget the other guy's name, but one other famous actor that basically, like Tony Jaa and these guys, a lot of times they are really kind of hitting you, and it's just kind of part of the job. I think he said something like they're doing all this stuff, and I remember them showing one scene where Tony Jaa's like running through this space and just getting into it, that they're expending a lot of it. Like they can't, there's just too much going on, too much they have to do, and they're doing it kind of in one big take. It's not lots of little takes. It's just this thing that they don't really have time to really worry about it. And he said that that's just kind of part of it. And I don't know how hard they're hitting you, but they're not kind of Hollywood hitting you. They're hitting you. Maybe it's similar to pro wrestling in the sense that pro wrestlers, and depending on type, whatever, they'll call it, I think they'll say like they're snug, which basically means they are hitting you. They're not hurting you, or at least not in a way that's going to cause you to have to get surgery or anything, but they are kind of hitting you, which I thought was really interesting. I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's good or bad. I guess it's just kind of the way it is, sort of thing. Club says something they love about the raid is its orientation shows when someone gets downed. Yes, it's not light. No, it is not. Definitely not light. They have to they have to make it look good, right? They have to do whatever. So whether I doubt they're giving you 100%. And probably when Tony Jaa, like you're the guy at the top of the stairs, and Tony Jaa's just run through 8 guys to get to you. I don't know how much he has in the tank to really belt you, but he's not trying to play. He's gonna make contact, which I guess makes sense. And I guess just you have to know, if you're a stunt person, that's kind of what you're signing up for. And the stunt guy, he was, I don't know if he would say he was fine with it, but he was definitely resolved to the fact it's like, yeah, that's the gig. Is you're going to be there, and you're going to kind of be their punching bag, and that's what it is. You're curious. It's got both the raid movies and D&D. Awesome. Hey, Whales, thanks. Calclip says there's a YouTube vid of Mad Dog from Raid getting punched really hard in the stomach by a pro MMA fighter and being able to take it. Yeah, I believe it. I mean, there's a lot you can do when you get ready for it, but you got to be careful, because that's what did in Houdini. Harry Houdini, I kind of feel like there's do people still know who Harry Houdini is? Do people still, he was, I mean, at least when I was growing up, he was sort of the magician, kind of the I mean, he was already long dead, but you think of Harry Houdini was kind of the magician, right? The almost legendary magician, and he died from, I think, his appendix burst, and he had one of his tricks was, and if I think I'm remembering this correctly, one of his tricks was that he would ask anybody in the audience or have somebody come up and basically punch him as hard as he can, or hard as they can, and he would take it. And I think he was coming out of a show, and some guy came up to him and like wanted to do it and just punched him, but he wasn't ready. And I'm sure part of it is you're tensing your muscles, you're doing things. Well, he wasn't ready. He got slugged really, really hard, burst his appendix, and he died. Yeah, he would have been right. Yeah, he would have been kind of the original David Blaine. Yeah, doing stuff like being tied in a safe with chains around it, dropped in the river, and getting out that all that kind of stuff. Pretty famous. Also, I guess famous in at least for a while. Anyway, this is also another thing, kind of the legend of his ghost or lack thereof. That when he had made a pact with his wife that he was going to, that if there was an afterlife, he was going to try to come back. That he, I think, and I don't know when he made this pact. I don't know if it was when he was dying or whatever, but through the rest of her life, she would periodically, maybe on his birthday or the anniversary of death or something, hold seances in the hope that he would contact her, because that was something that they had made some kind of pact. If there's an afterlife, I'm going to make my way back to you. He didn't show. Who knows why? Not here to litigate that. But Houdini was never cited. But I always thought that was kind of an interesting, neat part of his story. That's right. The guy hit him with the sneak attack, 4 times damage, and that did him in. Okay, well, you know what? We're just here to hang out and have fun. I am going to try to get some work done while I'm here, though. Please do not let me blather on. I mean, really, I'm here to chew bubblegum and get work done, and I got plenty of bubblegum. Yes, Mercurius, right. That was his, yes. He was also famous for debunking spiritualism, and that was kind of laid into it, right? That he he would kind of do the Amazing Randy, if you remember him. He died a few years ago, but he was another one. He was a magician that basically started off as a magician and then basically flipped his whole career into debunking spiritualists and all those things and all that kind of stuff and mentalists and things like that. So yeah, that was another part of it as well. Okay, so I have this commons area here I'm trying to fill. I had this idea, and I don't know if you remember, if anyone was here. I know some of you probably were here when I did that run through of one of the dungeons in when I did, I'm trying to remember. There was a bit in one of the dungeons that I did that I ran, actually. It was that dungeon I ran that was part of that game I worked on. I had some artists working on stuff, so I thought I might actually have that here, because something that occurred to me was that I have statues. There's a statue here. There's a statue over here. That someone's got to make these things. You ever wonder, like, who's making the statues of some of the evil guys? Who the heck is who's making this stuff? You got like, oh, look, the statue of the evil lord. Oh, look, this guy. Like, someone's got to sit there. We never think about it. It's kind of that. I feel like it reminds me of that. They don't show people peeing in the movies or in games. Like, where's the toilets, kind of thing. Right, where they just don't. It's not super interesting. People peeing and pooping, unless it says something about the character or somehow something to do with the story, it's not particularly interesting. It's not interesting in a game either. I don't need to see the latrine or the midden hole unless something's gonna be going on there. But it's a question of kind of, like they say about show business, looking behind the curtain. Like, I want to see how the sausage is made. Well, we have all these idols and statues and statuary and all this kind of stuff, and who's making them and where? So I thought it might be fun to have this area where they maybe have they've got some prisoner artisans. Maybe some of the people that came in, and they filtered out or winnowed. I don't know, found out some of these folks that have some skill with maybe chisel or just whatever, and that they've got them here making some of this stuff. Dave says he always adds bathrooms. They ground the setting. I do like to add in a midden pit or something, and so I think oftentimes what you can have for the bathroom, it's just you got a bucket, you got the old bedpan, and I like to have somewhere where at least you're dumping the stuff. Yes, it's right. Think about it. Yeah, where does your stuff go? If you're in the top floor of a mega dungeon, where does your midden hole go? It's a good question. It's a very good question. In this, for these guys, it actually would go in here. they put it down that hole, and then the frog dogs muck around in it. So that is where that stuff goes. And I think where I had the bedrooms, there'll just be some buckets and things. They're not they don't really care. I mean, honestly, they don't want to be too much crawling around their own crap, but they're also not, toilet stalls, showers. There's a well over here, so you can splash water in yourself. But cleanliness is not the top of their concerns. Dave says sometimes you had the bedpan inches above a player's head. That'd be something in the cartoon version where it's what was that, like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, right? Where the artist is just it's Daffy Duck and he's arguing with whoever's drawing the pages or the frames, and the guy's drawing all kinds of crazy stuff, and I can see that bedpan gag happening, and then at the end it's revealed that it's Bugs Bunny. Again, spoilers, but that thing's probably like 70 years old at this point, 80 years old. Brian Smith says, got to be a local sculptor who gets strong armed to doing it. Yeah, so I figure they'll have a couple. So are chained to let's see, several. Actually, I'm not going to have them chained. 1d6 outer circle guards. Actually, I'm just going to do 3. Watch over several artisans. Chiseling and sculpting statues of Cyrus out of slabs of mottled gray stone. The artisans work at an ecstatic are in okay. 1d3 guards watch over several artisans chiseling and sculpting statues of Bufo and Osiris out of slabs of mottled gray stone. The artisans work in an ecstatic frenzy. The result of brought about by heavily drugged wine So I like the idea that that maybe there's some kind of drug involved. I could do it enchantment, right? Another one could be that they're enchanted. That could be another way to do it. But I kind of like the idea of that they're that maybe there's some kind of drug that they use on some of these folks. So I like the idea that they're not necessarily chained, but they're clearly not in their right mind. I suppose you can make it magic that they're enchanted by somebody. I'm not sure which one's better. If they're enchanted by magic, the one thing that you do open up is, depending on the level of the party, obviously, they get there, they could potentially cast Dispel Magic and undo the enchantment. If it's drugs, they can't do that, but then you can also have more fun interactions with maybe how do they get the drugs out. It could be that a cure or whatever, cure poison might work. I could probably put a note in there, maybe about what drug they're using, that may be some kind of a poison thing or just whatever. Calcum says maybe the drugs increase their manual dexterity and allows them to perform very precise etchings. That's a good point. Actually, I was thinking something different. Really, that and I don't know whether it's. I'm really happy. I'm kind of happy to leave it like this, and then you, Calcalypse, if you were running it, you could decide that's what it is. The idea in my brain is actually that these weird statues that show this demon in their form. It's kind of like you can't explain it in a satisfactory manner. But if you can give them, if you can push visions of it into their brains, or maybe it is some goop that they get from here. Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. That actually gives me. Did I name that place? I don't think I did. I'm just trying to see if I. Yeah, I don't think I did name it. So I'll. It's actually wine spiked with the water from the pool, because the water from the pool is transformative. So that's going to be in there. Working excited friends, you brought about by wine spiked with water from the. I don't know what to call it yet, but I'll just call it the pool. S7. The idea is that they take this stuff. It's a little bit of this horrible goop, but it's in the wine, and plus the I'm not saying I don't even think it's the wine. It's kind of to water down. They're not trying to make them inner sanctum people. They're just trying to kind of use them. But this wine, the goop, whatever it is from the pool, that's sort of watered down in a sense, will give them these visions and kind of push them, prompt them to do their art. And so that's why I use the word ecstatic, is it's almost like this kind of loopy, they're having some kind of moment in a sense. But I could totally, if you wanted to play it in that way, that would absolutely work as well. I got some Spindrift for the working man. What is this? Blood orange. And then I just have water afterwards, but okay, so there's the workshop. L4, the outer sanctum, which I got. So great. So let's see. So that's good. L5, the gate of knowledge. L6 is the assembly area. Let's see. I'll have to add some physical details, but this is an empty cultists gather here for a gather here to attend the induction ceremonies held. Oh my gosh, my keyboard, is that my fingers? At the gates of knowledge. L5. Otherwise, chamber is empty. I'll add some physical details, but basically it's a waiting room. L7. What could be L7? I'm not sure yet. Another closet. It's kind of big. Is there anything that they would want to stick in there? I'm not sure. We'll leave it for right now. Well, crudely carved well. Uncovered. A bucket attached to a chain sits beside it. The chain Chain is Hey, Cowclips. Well, good morning. Enjoy your breakfast. Thanks for hanging out. Talking about the raid. All right, so a crudely carved well, uncovered, a bucket attached to a chain sits beside it. The other end of the chain is what's the word where you put like a nail to the floor? With an iron is, I don't know. I was gonna say an iron nail, but then it's an iron is nailed to the floor by an iron. I don't call it an iron spike. Sure, doesn't matter, right? A spike. Maybe someone could pull out that spike if they wanted to. Crudely carved well, uncovered, a bucket attached to a chain sits beside it. The other end of the chain is nailed to the floor by an iron spike. The winding passage. I wonder if I should put. I wonder if the well. Do I need to gussy up the well? I don't know. Well, I'll leave that for a second pass. Oh yeah, the school and the creche. Oh, I forgot. This is where they keep the kids. Oh man, the kiddies, the kiddos. General barracks. General specific. What else have people got going on this weekend? Next, the well to the residential sleeping quarters. To the, I like residential sounds, bleh. To the nursery and sleeping quarters. Yeah, I think that's about. I mean, I'll have to add. Oops, what did I do? I'll have to add something in there because this is more. There might be an encounter in here, or what I'm trying to decide is which places will have people in it. Right, some places will have people in it all the time. Essentially, the workshop is going to have folks in it. Some other places it's going to be like there's not really anybody in here. Just be kind of roll die, kind of thing. I guess that's kind of normal. Your normal dungeony sort of thing. Some places have stuff in it. Some places I don't like. There's nobody. I don't want to put anybody on duty in the well, but I might have a note. Hey, roll when you enter. Roll when you're in near the area to decide if anyone's in here using the well when you're showing up, kind of thing. Let's see. What is this? Dave says they're carving a Dharma wheel for their wife right now. Ooh. Later, you're going to be helping install an engine into an '88 Chevy pickup truck. Man, you got a whole lot of things going on, Dave. I wish I had that diverse set of skills, but man, I do not. Sounds like fun. I mean, it sounds like work, but it sounds like fun, fulfilling kind of work. Share some images of that Dharma wheel in the Discord when you have a chance, or when it's finished, or whenever you feel like sharing it. Are you doing that in wood? Because I think those other things you were working on were in wood. Also, very very pretty, very nice. Okay, so you got the school. Let's see. I hear you. The flip side of having all that work is that you've got all that work. You know, I definitely feel you on that. I mean, my problem is that I don't often take advantage. I feel like I don't often take advantage enough or in as efficient a way as I could of the time that I do get, because I have work to do and I put it off and I don't end up using the free time that I have to work on it, which is frustrating. Part of why the streams sometimes are good because they kind of focus me to do some things. I need to figure out a way to balance better when I'm doing this kind of thing on stream, just because it would be great to get more done. Even though I really like the going the back and forth and the explanation of stuff, I'm the people who, and I've used to. I don't really go on Twitch too much anymore. Oh, awesome! I'll have to check those out in a bit. But I really appreciated people doing kind of their work on Twitch or YouTube, wherever, on streaming their work. And I'm not sure how to get more in the mode of, not so much not paying attention to the chat or what's going on, but not maybe getting away from feeling like I need to run through everything all the time. And while it's helpful, I probably do it more than I need to. But I mean, hey, I haven't done it tonight yet. Decided to go back and walk everybody through everything that's been going on, just because it's as good as it is. It also means that I'm not adding to it. But it's like a discipline kind of thing, I guess. Like, can I work on this and actually get work done while people are watching and not feel the need to? I'm not even sure what it is. Is it the need to entertain? I don't know. It's also, though, maybe it's because I also feel weird that this is just writing stuff, not just. Okay, I know writing, whatever. I know, I get it. I'm not trying to denigrate the skill of writing or the gift or the artistry of it, but I think there's something very different about watching someone do this kind of thing than, say, watching somebody paint a painting. I could watch somebody paint a painting and feel that I'm getting something out of it by watching them just do that work. So much of the writing is kind of in your brain and then just tapping it out. It doesn't feel as fulfilling to me. Maybe there's someone, let me know, is there somebody, you guys are in here or later on or wherever, is there somebody that does this kind of thing, that does it in a way that you feel like makes it really, I don't know, that you feel something more, but because when you're painting, the process comes through, I guess, is maybe what I'm saying, right? You see somebody, they're mixing the paints, they're picking their brushes. This is whether it's digital or analog, whatever it is. You see them doing the stuff. You see them kind of doing all the sketch work and doing it. You can kind of see it, do what they're doing, the colors they're choosing, the mixing, everything going to work. I don't know that you get that comes across with writing stuff. And maybe even if it were, Dave says you should stream wood carving. You should stream wood carving. I absolutely would watch wood carving. I mean, that's kind of why I watch Tested, Adam Savage's channel. I'm not a maker of that kind, but I love to see stuff and hear about it. I'm not a patron of his or anything, so I don't get, because I think if he is Patreon, I think one of the things is you get kind of his uncut or just his kind of raw working videos. It'd be interesting to see one, because the ones that he puts on the channel are ones where he's sort of talking, but they'll also time lapse and things, so you're not watching hours and hours of him just doing whatever the heck. Dave says that he enjoy the heel. I know you mean hell. Out of your streams. Oh, I appreciate it. As good as game design classes. Well, I might be taking it too far. I look, if you can tell people, the powers that be, that my videos are as good as game design classes, so I could do game design classes and break into that kind of thing and maybe get asked to do things of that nature, I would love to. But I appreciate it. I'm just stumbling around. Someone, who was it? Was it might have been Ian, who posted on the Discord that we got a mention in the Necrotic Gnome newsletter. I guess it's kind of funny that I don't know what it is. He's given me a couple of shout outs. I don't know whether he follows the channel or whether stuff just pops up, because this is maybe the second or third shout out I've gotten on the newsletter, and I appreciate it. And Gavin, if you're watching, thank you very much. It doesn't give me the kind of bump that you might have thought, like, oh my gosh, I'm in the Necrotic Gnome newsletter. Surely hundreds of people are running over to the channel and checking it out and signing up. It's like, nope, not happening. None. I mean, look, it's probably me. It's probably just, hey, there's only a certain percentage of folks who are interested in this kind of thing, the things that I do. And I just got to live with the fact that if I want to keep doing the things that I do, the way I do them, that I'm not going to have the audience, or it's going to take a lot longer for audience to find me. Or I don't know, maybe, I don't know if people just don't, the newsletters, I don't know. Maybe if you shouted me on the channel, hey, Gavin, if you're still listening, if you want to shout me out on the YouTubes, somewhere like that, that might work better for me. I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but if your mouth happens to be open and I happen to look inside, but it's just kind of a funny, I guess, just a funny note. But if you follow the Necrotic Gnome newsletters, you might see a mention there, or the channel get mentioned. I'm really curious what's going to happen with Reddit, by the way. I know that there's a thing about them selling, that they're going to be taking people's stuff and selling it to the AI models, and I think that might even be a done deal. I don't know when that's kicking in. And they were doing something else where I think they were going to have some kind of paid tier of subreddits or something with that. I don't know. I don't know when people are gonna. It's frustrating for me because it's still a big gathering spot, and I made my goal to leave it, and I'll still go on there and check some things out every once in a while, because sometimes just there's stuff that's there and I'll see it and I can't help it. If I'm searching for something and it pops up on Reddit, I'll read it. I'm not, but I just do it. I don't do it from from my Hexed Press account or anything like that. I don't really interact with it other than reading the thing that I want to read. But I've decided to just kind of stick to my guns and not post on there anymore. But I also feel like is this yet another way in which I'm sort of what's the word, like cutting off my nose to spite my face, and that by not being active on Reddit I can't post anything on the channel on Reddit. But I also think that I don't think that stuff actually, I don't know. I gotta get to that point where folks will post stuff and I don't have to do it myself. That kind of, like, I always felt like, man, when do you get to that point? And I'm not trying to put it on any of you guys to do this. Of course, if you want to, you can. But I feel like that the moment you get to where you're like, I remember seeing that years ago with kind of after sort of the Colville stuff had really kind of blown up, where he didn't have to post things to those places because someone out of his community would roll over there and post them for him. And I'm like, man, isn't that nice? You can just keep your hands clean, and somebody will go do the dirty work for you. And I never know. I mean, who knows? Maybe all these people have kind of like a community manager type who's doing it, and it's a payroll kind of thing. And I should just go to Fiverr and get somebody and be like, hey, can you be my evangelist in the places that I really don't, I'm that where I can't or won't or just can't because you just don't have time and there's too many places. I'm not sure. Dave says they tried making a Reddit for Project Sunflower, but they still only have one follower and they are friend. Yeah, I think with that kind of thing, Dave, unless you have a really big sort of following, I think the thing is just to post in the other subreddits that are happening. So for Project Sunflower, the RPG Discord, I'm not sure which other ones to look at. I might look at some of the sci-fi role-playing is that they have Discords, but you also have to be careful because, and rightfully so, they generally don't want people just to drive by and drop marketing crap and leave. So the idea would be is that there's one of these subreddits that you can kind of make sort of a home, at least a little bit, and post regularly in there enough that if when you do post your ad thing and a moderator takes a look at it, that they'll say, oh, he's been kind of posting around. Like if there was a Mothership, no, I don't know, maybe Mothership, I don't know. Well, I would say go for something like Mothership or something if it was there, just because it's sci-fi. I know they're very different. Mothership's not at all the kind of sci-fi that Project Sunflower is. But Project Sunflower, I'm trying to think like what would be similar to that. Maybe something like Gamma World, or even something like Car Wars, just because of kind of the post-apocalyptic kind of future vibe. But if you found some places like that, or even just the kind of the generic overarching RPG Discord might be places to go. But you gotta read the rules and kind of be part of the community. And that's kind of where, if you can get to a point where either you have people, and that's kind of the thing with building the community. When you get to some point, and I don't know what that point is, there are all these weird little, I don't want to say checkpoints. What's the word I'm looking for? Hold on. There's what's the word? These shoot, I know, Carl. I got some dust bunnies going on up there. These you hit these, man, I can't think of the word. I want to say it's not a checkpoint, but I'm going to call it checkpoint so I don't keep struggling for the word. And then it just kind of changes things a little bit, and you sort of get something. So, speaking for myself, when I was you're first doing videos, nobody's watching them, unless you're lucky. You get lucky, you get something interesting, you do it. You might end up with a lot of people watching overnight. It can happen, but oftentimes, other than that, you're kind of posting, and then a week or two later, one person's looked at it, maybe two people look. You're doing that. You start to stream, and nobody's watching, and then you're doing that, and then one person too that you see. So look, all of a sudden the thing goes one, and you go, oh, one, yes, one, and then that person leaves a minute later, or 30 seconds later, or immediately, and you're like, okay. Oh, threshold's the word I'm looking for, and then you reach milestone threshold, and then you reach some kind of threshold, and then suddenly there are some people there. And I've talked about this in the past, where I've been lucky enough with the streaming part that some threshold was reached, in which I can count on at least a few people, regulars, you know who you are, who will tune in, which makes it infinitely easier for me to stream. Because when you're streaming and you have to talk like there are people watching and listening to you, but you know that nobody's watching or listening, it's very hard. It's very easy just to want to hit the stop button, end stream. Put me out of my misery? What am I doing? But you can't, because if you just do that, then nobody shows up. So you just reach this threshold. It's like, oh, somebody's out there, and they're going to come, and not every time. It's not always the same people who show up for every stream, but there's enough people. Maybe you'd say, oh, maybe there's 20 people, and out of that 20, 5, 6, 7, 8, some, between a quarter and half of them might show up for any stream, which means I'll always have at least a few people will show up. If I can hang out online for a few minutes, they'll show up, and it'll feel more like I'm having a conversation and not that I'm yapping at nobody. And I think for these other kinds of community things, I think it's the same way. And there is probably some threshold at which you reach, at which people will enjoy your work and feel inspired by it, whatever, enough to then go and then promote it kind of for you. So the idea is that ideally, at some point, you don't have to go into the mothership Discord and talk about Project Sunflower, because somebody in your community who really enjoys the game, wants to see it succeed, and wants to see people play it, will see some question being asked on that mothership Discord, and they'll say, hey, have you heard of Project Sunflower? Or or whatever Discord, right? And that's kind of like another. And I don't know how it works. I don't know how this is doing. It's not something that's always going to happen. Like, I have folks who have been nice enough where sometimes I'll see some kind of weird spike or something in people watching, and I'll kind of try to figure out, like, where are they coming from? Like, I remember one time I had done a video, and then I saw this kind of spike in viewers, and it ended up being that someone in some kind of French RPG forum had shared my video, and it was like I got this kind of spike of viewers. I was like, oh wow, that's really great, cool, thanks. And so you kind of have those thresholds. I don't know that there's any kind of science to it or magic. And like I said, maybe some of the stuff, it's not as magic as I think it is. It's just that someone has, hey, I mean, now at this point, MCDM, I'm sure, has some kind of community manager, and maybe folks who go do that to kind of, but that also they have enough followers now. They probably don't need to, because enough people are excited that they're on these different platforms, and then they're going ahead and sharing it. I hear you, Dave. I work 9 to 5 as well. I just take hence why I call them lunch hour stream of streams. I do it on my lunch. I just managed to work around my streaming, but I totally understand you. I totally get that it is not the ideal time to stream. I mean, if I had started this in a different time, in a different place in my life, I probably would do them at night, which might be a lot better for audience. But that's kind of family stuff, and I don't have a house for the most part. You know, I'm streaming in my bedroom. That's where my computer setup is. That's where I do my streams at. So during the day, my wife, we both work at home. My wife and I both work out of the house or remotely from our house, our apartment, and she's on the other side of the apartment. So it works out pretty well. But I couldn't stream at night because one, I have to be more quiet, and I have a loud voice. You may not be able to tell my voice is kind of loud. And so I could probably close the door and everything so that my daughter wouldn't get if she's already gone to bed. But then at some point, my wife might want to go to bed, and it just doesn't really work. In fact, some of my earliest streams, I was in my kitchen. If you ever recall seeing the if you ever saw any videos where it has a wallpaper fish in the background, I was in my kitchen because what I would do was at the time I was on a laptop. I would take my laptop to the kitchen and I would kind of set everything up. And sometimes my streams would either be on these kind of things when my family's just away and I didn't have my desk set up yet, or it would be late at night and I'd have to be trying to be quiet and I try to do it. And it was just a pain and I just couldn't do it kind of consistently, yada, yada, yada. If I had kind of a house setup or something where I had like a little room, and now when I'm in Studio B, I do have that, but I also tend to be there on the weekends, in which case I'm also doing kind of family stuff for like tonight. So, you know, I know there's definitely an inefficiency, not that this is what we were talking about, but in kind of the streaming, how I do it as opposed to how others do it. Can't be helped for the moment. Dave says I can't get an hour for lunch. Well, I don't know if my bosses would give me an hour for lunch. I just take it, and you know, sometimes, yeah, I really just take it and I just get my work done around it. What's that saying? To ask for forgiveness rather than permission. Easier to ask for permission for forgiveness and ask for permission. So I'll just block out I just block out an hour of my time, and then I'll go. Things are a little bit kind of more loosey goosey right now. That's why my stream, because like for a while I was pretty much at clockwork at 1 almost all the time because I just blocked out that time. Now it's just a little things are a little bit more loosey goosey. So things I would like to do different, but you know, I definitely appreciate that people actually coming in during the day because yeah, it would not be the time I would choose if I was trying to optimize streaming for people. Make it work however you can. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of making it work, this came across on my shoot. I don't know what it's called now. This came across on I was looking YouTube the on my tele, which I actually have hooked up to a different account. Then it's not connected to my Hexed Press YouTube. It was connected to my personal YouTube, and there was something called tabletop something or other. And it was it kind of I didn't listen. No, did I watch the whole thing? No, I think I might have watched most of it. I think I need to go back and watch the rest of it. But you know, it's a channel that's struggling, and it's interesting because they have a way more followers, probably things than I do. I think they're up in 250,000 their audience or subscribers. I'm gonna try to look them up. I don't remember. Tabletop. They're out of Australia. Anyone who's here from Australia still? Tabletop. Was it tabletop? Ooh, tabletop time. Was that it? Tabletop time. Hold on. It was tabletop time. The video's called Tabletop Time is in Trouble. And you know, there's been a whole bit, been a trend over the last, I don't know, the beginning of the year felt like last fall into the spring of like 2023 to 2024, with people. I mean, if some of them, I think, well, the ones that really got publicized were, huge channels, folks who are calling it quits or taking hiati. What's the plural of hiatus? Hiatuses or hiatui? I don't know. And it was interesting reading them. I meant to actually do a video on it because I thought like there were some parallels, I think, between GM burnout, DM burnout, and these kind of channels burning out, because you end up on these schedules that are not infinitely maintainable. You could do it for a while, maybe you could do it for a long while. And I think some of these channels, you get big, you're working on the schedule works in terms of, it's obviously working for your channel because your channel's growing and it's doing great. But at the end of the day, either life changes or it's just too whatever, you end up like, I can't keep it up. And then kind of, what do you do? Some people probably made or big enough channels that they've made enough besides other things that they're like, hey, I'm just going to take a break, do something else. Who knows? I don't know. It'd be interesting to follow with some of these channels. So what did you do after that? Did you, if it was an industry channel, like if you were a photography channel that called it quits, did you go and work for photography companies? Did you consult, or, what did you end up, doing? Some of the other ones, I think, were like, hey, I got to take a break. Some of them were like, hey, I got to change the development. I don't know if pace is the right word, just the timelines, everything else. I just got to kind of change. But that seemed to kind of end. It seems like that trend of these channels, or at least the ones that I was following, sort of petered out in terms of that, hey, I've exhausted myself and I can't do anymore. And I did think that, GMs, I think, go through a similar thing. Running a game, however your cadence is on top of everything else you're doing, it could be a lot of work. And you might start off with the best of intentions and the best ideas and everything else, and then you just find that for a variety of reasons, you cannot keep it up. And then what do you do? And you end up in similar answers. Do you walk away? Do you change your game cadence? Do you, how do you address that kind of difficulty, right? This one's a little bit different because it seems like, I don't want to say they were doing everything the right way, but it seems kind of like they were. They organize themselves. They have a company. They pay people, including themselves, salaries, and they've got, obviously they're not doing kind of gig economy. Like they have sort of, I guess, incorporated in some way of doing it, but they're struggling. And it's interesting that the economics, even with the amount of subscribers and things that they have, are not paying off enough. And that they're talking about that they're kind of having to go part-time. This video is a lot about, what we've been doing isn't working. We're not, YouTube, that's getting more complicated or difficult, and our videos aren't resonating. Again, I don't follow the channel. I think they talked about doing kind of different kinds of videos, but they were finding that doing those different kinds of videos weren't, I guess, confusing the audience maybe, or confusing YouTube, or, whatever it was doing. Because YouTube has this tendency to kind of want to, I think maybe all these services, they kind of want to pigeonhole you. I'm sure I get hurt by this too, because I'll jump around. Want to pigeonhole you into something. And if you try to move outside your hole, that hole you've been put in, you can drop off. It's not even really an algorithm. It's been interesting to see that. Now they have things very different, and obviously in some ways they have first world problems. I wish I'll trade their subscriber numbers for mine, and then I'll deal with the fact that whatever. But I'm just running it as a solo person. I'm not trying to support multiple different people and support staff, and people doing art and people doing this and doing that, like they are. Like, they're doing it in many ways the right way. But at the moment, YouTube, or whatever, they're struggling. And it was just an interesting watch, I guess, a very different perspective, both in terms of where they are and their numbers and everything, and kind of the things they're dealing with, and also the way they've done it. So it was just interesting, I guess. But I don't really have a point. I don't really have a point to that. But I watched it today. some of it today after I watched Dragon Slayer. And Dragon Slayer, man, that movie holds up to me. Oh, I also watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the other day with my daughter, and that movie also holds up. Dave says they burn out as a jam from time to time. I think it's inevitable to, unless you've really managed it. You know, I'm, part of my kind of going for the very prep light type things is I don't want to spend a bunch of time prepping. At least not prepping in the kind of classic prep. I enjoy thinking about stuff and mulling it over in my mind as things are happening. I don't want to have to write all kinds of stuff down. And having kind of a very light prep being, I think, okay with sort of improv and just kind of riffing it and sort of just riffing it, just try to stay one step ahead of the players and just try to stay out and out contradicting myself, because I think the players will fill in a lot of stuff on their own. As long as what you're doing makes halfway bit of sense, I think you'll find that your players will gap fill for you or come up with a reason. Oh, well, the reason why this isn't working is obviously this thing over here. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. I'm so glad they bailed me out, because I was thinking to myself, this doesn't make any sense. And they made sense for me. As long as you can kind of keep that going. And I think you can kind of be open somewhat with the players, kind of your system. And also, obviously asking the players to help in terms of, hey, declare to me what you're doing so that I can do that, and I can have that thing ready, so on and so forth. Dungeon Master Masterclass says they just ran their first session after a 2-month break. If that happens at a bad stopping point, it can end a campaign. Yeah, certainly having to take, and that's that kind of part of adulthood. When you're in college or high school or whatever, other than school breaks, and depending on where you're going to school, you might be local the whole time anyway, so you can just keep playing. You don't really have to necessarily worry about that stuff. But sometimes you got to take these breaks, and you don't even sure when they're going to end. It's not like, oh, we're going home for spring break and we'll definitely be back in 3 weeks. It's like, no, I got busy stuff at work and this stuff's happening, so I got to take a break, and I may come back, but I also might not. So yeah, it's definitely, I feel you on that one. I mean, my home game is on hiatus, which it's probably dead. The players all moved away, and all the various family things that may or may not resolve, and it doesn't feel like they're coming back. And it's not anything to do with the game or me or them. It's life. Moving different parts of and they're not even in different parts of the country, though we're in different time zones now, but just that moment in time where everyone was available. It was kind of during the COVID pandemic thing. It's not that COVID's gone away, but it's different now. It's over. And all that life is coming back. And certainly as families and things develop and all those obligations pop in, being able to squirrel away the hours to play just gets hotter and hotter. All right, let me see. What I got the school. What's going on at the school, do you think? I think I'm just going to have them. I think children, I don't say abducted. I'm gonna think about the school stuff a bit. Dungeon Master Masterclass, I didn't run a game at Claricon. I played in a couple of games at Claricon. I did not run. I'm going to run a game. Oh, yes. Okay, you're talking about the future. Yes, I am going to be running a game at Claricon this year. I thought you were talking about last year, as my chair descends. Yes, I will be running a game. So definitely you should try to make it. It's a fun little con. I had a good time last time. Okay, I'm going to put the school and the creche aside for right now. I need to think about that slightly. Guard room. Yeah, put some 2d3. At all times. I really want between two and I don't know, not 2d3. Is that too many? 6. Let's do 1d3 plus 1. Then launch here. What do they call that thing in the I want to put some of those holes in the doors, the bar, not a gate. Or maybe it should just be a gate. Yeah. Watching the school. Well, they're not really watching, are they? They're kind of keeping. Well, it's interesting here. Maybe I should put a gate. Because I got guards here, but the kids could just wander all the way. Whoops. Not sure what to do with that. Not sure what to do with that. Iron gates lead to the school and passage. That is passage L13. The school is L11. So there's kind of iron gates. I might put an iron gate over here. Everybody else can kind of come up this way to go to it. So maybe I'll put an iron gate. Maybe. Dungeon Master Masterclass, if you're still here, what are you where are you located more or less? Are you close to that Toronto, Greater Toronto area? The general barracks. Curious. Anybody else doing anything con related coming up? All right, so here we've got all right. Separates this segment of the L15. Dragon Con. Oh, hey, Howard Hughes. Where is Dragon Con? 8 to 9 hours away. That's kind of similar. That's similar to us. Whereabouts are you in the Midwest Dungeon Master Masterclass? Are you in the Northeast? Because I think we're in that. If I'm thinking about when I made the roadie with Bandits Keep last year, that's a more or less, maybe a bit closer than us, but not too much. I know there was a guy that came from Ohio or somewhere. And I think he said his run was 8 or 9 hours. Oh, Dragon Con's in Atlanta. Let me take a quick. When is Dragon Con, out of curiosity? Not that I have the time or finances or anything else or means to get to Dragon Con. It's in 11 days, 19 hours, 55 minutes, and 03 seconds. I'm just going to look at it real quick. Let's just take a look. Why not? Central Illinois. Oh, okay. Very cool. All right, let's see what's going on at Dragon Con. Who is people to see? What are we? Who's showing up to Dragon Con? See, someday, can I be a featured guest? I don't even care what kind of con it is. It's going to be the con of nothing, just so I can say I was a featured guest. All right, so we have. So he's a writer, Jason Aaron. Let's see, is anybody I recognize? Shirley Appleby. Well, let's see, anything. Sweeney Boo. Don't know. Okay, Billy Boyd. I know him. Jim Butcher. Okay, I know him. Oh yeah, Christina. I watched Strange New Worlds. It's not my. I don't know if I loved it as much as some of my friends have loved Strange New Worlds, but I did like it. I don't like when these other shows come in and they undermine the original show. Star Wars did this a bunch, where Han Solo does does the run to the asteroids. That seems really amazing. And then in the prequels, they have Obi-Wan making a run through the asteroids. And I think that Strange New Worlds, I feel like there's just this, maybe more than I would like, just kind of undermining the original series kind of stuff. I see here now. That's awesome. John Cleese. Very good. Let's see. Crux Shadows. I don't know them. Vincent D'Onofrio. Oh, he's a good actor. Oh, John Delancey. I always enjoyed Q. Do you ever wonder what these guys who are? Giancarlo Esposito. He's really good. I'm really glad that he got that he made it kind of later career, because I always enjoyed him very much in different roles, and he was always one of those actors that just always would be in these kind of small movies, but really good, or at least movies that I really liked. And you always think like, oh man, you just always see him in those movies and not in bigger movies. So I was really glad to see him kind of break out. Oh, Nathan Fillion, Jonathan Frakes. Okay. Gil Gerard. Whoa, Buck. Buck and Lucky Buck is back. And Aaron Gray. Whoo, boy, we're getting the whole band together. Now we're talking. Please tell me they're on a panel together. Gil Gerard, Aaron Gray. I'm down. I mean, that's my generation right there, growing up on Buck. Beady, 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 beady. Beady, 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 beady. Screw you, Buck. Oh, where's Hawk? I wonder if people have any idea what I'm talking about. Or was it Hawkman or Hawk? Oh, Hawkman. Oh, the Hawk ship. Oh, there he is. That's what we need. That's what we need. I hope I'm not. I hope he's not dead or something. There he is, the Hawk. Yes. The Dungeon Master Masterclass says, when you're from Central Illinois, everything is hours away. I hear you. I hear you. Dave says the Dragon Flight Con is happening this weekend, but they don't have the money for it. Almost went anyway. Responsibility got the best. Is that in the Illinois area, Dave? Dragonfly? Or no, wait, that was Dungeon Master Masterclass. Where are you at, Dave? I forget. I think you told me. Oh, no, Howard Hughes is in Atlanta, or Dungeon Con or Dragon Con's in Atlanta. See, I'm getting all confused. All right, let's go back. Oh, it's like Seth Green. All right. I'm not the. I mean, I'm not the biggest Seth Green guy. I liked his work in Austin Powers. I guess I don't really know. A Family Guy I've watched off and on. I wouldn't say that I'm like, oh yeah, Seth Green, but let's see. Someone say something about the cast from Firefly saw the last deal get together of Nimoy and Shatner at Fire. I got to meet Shatner at a book reading. I'm a big Shatner guy. I'm a big, I'm an original series guy. I'm definitely a Shatner guy. So I got him to sign a book for me, his autobiography for me, and then I got one for a friend of mine. That was kind of a high moment. Oh, Chekhov's going to be there. Let's see. I just feel like I must be out of the loop because a lot of these people Well, I'm not into comic books and stuff really. I mean, I'll read them if they're around. I really enjoy comic books, but I'm just not. I'm not an active collector type. Gates McFadden is there. So all right. So we got Dr. Crusher, Dominic Monaghan. So we got another Hobbit, Anson Mount, Star Trek New Worlds, and also what was in that? Oh, Hell on Wheels. Right, I remember he was in that one. He looked way different in that show. So good on him for doing something completely different. Anybody? Let's see. Anybody else I might know? Oh, Harry Potter. The twins from Harry Potter. All right. Rikishi, some wrestler action. Hey, Rikishi lost both his uncles or brother. And two of the original Wild the Wild Samoans back from WWE back when it was WWF and WWF, the Wild Samoans. They both died within a couple of months of each other, and one of them was just the other day. Oh, Dave is Pacific Northwest. Ah, near Seattle. My family's actually in Seattle right now, visiting an ex coworker of my wife's. So I don't think they're going to go to Dragonflight Con though. Oh yeah, Adam Savage. Yeah, I've seen some. I've watched some of his videos with some of his crazy kind of cosplay stuff. He put some amazing things together. Kobe Smulders. All right, Brent Spiner. All right, there's a couple people. Wow, there's definitely a lot of people. How am I at the end of this list yet? Catherine Tate. Okay, we got some Doctor Who going on. Danny Trejo. I saw something for Trejo's. He's got like a taco thing now going on. I saw something Trejo's Tacos. Alan Tudyk. I've always enjoyed his work. Patrick Warburton. Nice. I really loved his voicing of the Tick. Ming Na Wen. Nice. Jodie Whittaker. Another Doctor Who. Elijah Wood. Wow. So yeah, there's a lot there. Oh, another Doctor Who. I remember her. I always liked her. Freema when I forget what's his name was a doctor. George Lowe. No, not George Lowe. Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. And some of those Adult Swim that kind of he was big in the heyday of, well, I call it the heyday, the golden age of Adult Swim back in the, I guess, 90s to early aughts. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Sea Lab 2020, Space Ghost, Coast to Coast, The Brack Show. Emily DeRavin. She sounds familiar. I'm not placing her. Or those are the people. What are the things to do? All right. What kind of gaming? Yeah, let's see the gaming. Ooh. All right. So you got your Adventures League, of course, Pathfinder Society. Nice to see Pathfinder Society kind of coming back. There was a few years there. They didn't seem to be doing anything. I know I streamed about it because I felt like they were really, I felt like it was not just Pathfinder, the organization, but just where were the people, all those people talking about how awesome Pathfinder is, and yet you couldn't actually find any Pathfinder games. Starfinder, all right. Shadowrun, oh, nice. I think I'm gonna have to do a stream on the Shadowrun, whatever this latest edition rules, just to check it out. I was a big fan of Shadowrun, kind of first, second edition. I know it was imperfect, but I loved. There's so much about it I love just in terms of the setting and the concept and everything else. Oh, that's it. Oh, they just don't have a list. Sorry, I'm not sure. All right. Well, my Amazon device just said, sorry, not sure. Okay. All right, let's go back to. That's enough of that. A fun little romp through Dragon Con. Well, if you end up at Dragon Con, take some pictures. Let us know how it is. I mean, I'd love to get to a place where I could go to a bunch of cons and just set up shop and do things and just visit and maybe do some, con my way on some panels. Call those some goals. Call those some long-term channel goals. All right, so we have the General Barracks. It says L14, so we got about, I don't know, just at any time, 2d6 cultists. I should probably call these outer circle cultists because that is a distinction, a meaningful distinction. I know I have written cultists. Yeah, there we go. Cultists sleep on rough straw canvas. Balance. Several buckets on the floor. Collect leavings. I don't know if that's the right term, but I'm going to call it collecting leavings. Okay. And this part of the passage connects the wardrobe. This is where you kind of get clean or cleaned up. There's a closet, and then there's more general barracks over here. I'm just going to copy paste this for right now. I'll want to make them a little bit more. I'm going to need another paragraphia. Whee! Just making another. Where did you go? There you go. Okay. I'm just going to copy this because we already have that here, and I gotta change it. Okay, so this passage connects one. It's going L14. D connects the closet. Connects the what's L16? The wardrobe. The wardrobe. Wardrobe. Closet. And barracks. L18 via an iron gate. Oops. To the rest of the passageway. I wonder if I should mention something about the iron gate. I kind of feel like it's a good control device. I think. Let me see if I can. Wait a minute. What am I going to do? Sorry. Studio. Show the right studio. Make a note. Iron gate. Can be locked from either side by a key held. I want to add somebody. Okay. So we can lock the iron gate. Lock the iron gate. Should I put in, what do you guys think? Should I put in, I probably don't need to worry about it right now, but do you feel like having an inline kind of X and 6 or some other resolution for things like gates being locked? What do you think? What dost thou think? The interesting thing is this area, there's some, in terms of control points, once you get in here, there's not a lot. There's a door here. This barracks is open. This barracks is open. There is a locked or a door here. Determine this is a gate here. These are gates. Maybe even this is also a gate. Gate. And you're open from all the way through, really a lot. Which I guess in terms of, because one of the ideas here is that they could potentially lock it down. So they would definitely lock this gate. And probably they'd want to, and I think I'm going to put a gate in here because I don't think they want the kids to have freedom. Or I could say that they would put the gates, they would put the kids in here. Dungeon Master class talking about forcing or picking or both. Both. It wouldn't, it would be so much as like, do you want, from a kind of a, certainly especially from a kind of OSR standpoint, would you like me to include, hey, this much in 6 to lock, pick, or break down the door, or are you just going to use whatever break down the door? Because that's probably what I use for breaking it down. Is I'd probably just use. I don't even know if BX has. It must. I'm sure they have breaking down door, but I could just pick something, or I could just assume that you're going to have a rule that you'd like to use already. It's kind of like, would you rather I put it in? I kind of feel like maybe put it in, just because you never know if somebody has it or not. So have it, and then they can use it or not use it as they see fit. Whereas if you don't have it, then you're potentially forcing the GM to do some kind of lookup. I don't know. I wouldn't, just for myself, as I'm thinking about it, I would not I would not recommend this to a new GM. I don't think this is a new GM friendly dungeon at all. So I would think that by the time you would get to wanting to run something like this, that you'd have your own set. Dave says they have a 2d6 roll for being locked. Well, the idea here is it would be unlocked at DEF CON. So remember this idea of DEF CON? So I had this idea of rising alarm levels. And so at different levels, different things will happen. Really, I think I only need maybe one, or I don't think I only maybe need 3 levels of alertness, I think, for this. I don't know that I need 5, but I might keep. But at some level, they're just going to start locking things down. And they're going to use the gate. They're going to lock it down. It's not going to be locked randomly, because some guy's got the key to it. And then you got to find that guy, right? So you don't want to lock it down on a whim, or just like, oops, I accidentally locked it. But when the alarm sounds and they're thinking we've got intruders, they're going to want to lock things down, and they're going to lock this. And this is a kind of a point where they can lock it down. And then, like I said, I'm thinking they might put a gate in here because they might want to lock it down. But then I could also see them saying, okay, they're going to take the kids, put them into this room, and lock that instead, and have that be kind of open. But it would be something that it won't be locked just randomly. It'll be locked specifically. And I'll have to put a note in there. Hey, if the alarm level is this, then that door will be locked, unless that person's been dealt with for some chance. But yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm kind of going more or less system agnostic, so maybe I'll just have to put I'll just have to put some rules in there. And I'm kind of doing kind of OSE, but I don't know if I'm going to put OSE on the box, though I might. I might just go agnostic. I'm kind of using agnostic for things like, hey, AC as leather, as chain, that kind of thing. So maybe I'll need to do that. How did you scroll the way down there? Okay, good. I got that. Cool, the crash, the guard room, the closet, the wardrobe. I'm going to have to figure out what's in the wardrobe. That's fine. I'll do that later. That's not a big deal. The general barrack closet, too. General barracks. It's fine. I know there's more. Keep getting these notifications. The system wants to notify me of stuff, but it's like the stuff it wants to know. I'm talking about my Amazon device, but I don't know how to tell it. It's notifying me of things like the rip current. The rip current warning is in effect, and it's one of those kind of funny things that I don't want to say people don't think about, but maybe you don't. I'm in New York City. New York City's on the water. New York City, and not just from a flooding perspective, because I think when you see views of Manhattan, they don't talk about beaches and things like that. So you don't necessarily talk about people being in the water. You might think, oh yeah, of course Manhattan's on the water, but you don't necessarily think of, well, who cares about a rip current? Because nobody's swimming off of Battery. No one's swimming between Battery Park and Staten Island or the Statue of Liberty or anything like that. But we actually have beaches and things, and some of them are in New York City itself. Like you can go to Coney Island or the Rockaways, and you're still in New York City, and you're at the beach. Or you can go a little bit further afield. Jones Beach, I guess, is a famous beach. I don't know if people really equate that with New York City. Maybe they do. I don't know. Hard to say. Any case, so it's not like there's no relevance. I'm not somewhere landlocked and I'm getting rip current warnings, but still, it's just kind of funny because I'm not at the beach. I don't live on the beach. I don't live super far from the water. I suppose maybe if I were gonna walk straight to the closest water, I don't know, maybe I'm a couple miles away. But I don't find the rip current warnings particularly helpful. But I don't know how to turn those off. I don't want to turn off all the things because I like getting if there's a storm warning or something else like that. Like I like hearing about that, or if there's things gonna be enough rain that flooding could be a problem. I want to hear about that stuff. But the rip current, rip tide. I guess also got a lot of coastal flooding warnings, which don't really apply to me, but I get them anyway. I've also noticed, in terms of oddities, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I mentioned that I saw that thing about, what was it, tabletop time on YouTube, but I found that YouTube, I don't know if it's the imperfections in YouTube's, and they're not talking about their algorithm from a creator standpoint, where they're talking, when people talk about the algorithm, they're talking about when YouTube is promoting videos, what videos you see on the homepage, that kind of thing. And YouTube's system of that from a creator standpoint. I'm talking more now about just the way it organizes things, because I was looking at it on my TV. I forget what I was looking for, and it gave me these little, the interface showed these little almost thumbnails of searches that you could do. Like, oh, here you could search for role-playing games, you could search for board game reviews, all these things. And they'll take a video, maybe a popular video, which I think YouTube must think is representative of that search and pops it in there. But I'm looking at them and I can recognize a lot of the, so I guess it's picking up on videos that I'm sort of aware of, whatever. I recognize some of the videos, and most of them are not really, they're not really the thing that YouTube is saying that they are. Like something about, oh, okay, here's the thing about board game reviews, but it's not a board game review. It was like a let's play kind of thing, like Board Game Geek. I forget what they called it. They have or at least, or they're associated with a channel that they'll play games live, or live, they'll record it. They'll record gameplays. I think it's is it Let's Play? I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, it's not really the important part. The important part is that they what is going on there? They're showing me their channel under board game reviews, and they are not board game reviews. Oh. I'm not going to worry about that weird to me spacing at the moment. Oh, is it because it's centered? All right, I'm not going to worry about that either. I see what's happening. I got you now. Okay. So it's a weird, and I wonder how much of this affects creators, viewers, just everybody. Because, and some of these channels have a lot of viewers. I assume that they have got kind of figured out where they ought to be. And whether it's just a quirk, whether they like it, because, hey, our videos being surfaced to kind of a similar, because a Let's Play, yeah, sure, it's kind of related, certainly related to board games, but it's not a board game review. But but I also found it a little bit weird that so many of them were not really the thing that it's telling me it's searching for. I guess I wonder how much inefficiencies there are in some of this YouTube search. Anybody found that they're just kind of searching for something? I want after I watched Time Bandits today. Maybe I didn't mention that. I watched Time Bandits today. So a couple things I did in lieu of doing this earlier in the day. I took a nap, ate a bagel, took a nap, watched Time Bandits. And after I watched Time Bandits, I thought it might be kind of fun to see if anyone's. I like watching because I like doing kind of film analysis stuff, and so I like watching some folks talk about see if there's anything interesting. And I was reminded at the end of Time Bandits how what a really fascinating way they end that movie. And I thought I'm curious to see what kind of people are saying about that. And I was looking for it. And of course, I knew immediately that this was going to be a bit of a slog because there's a new Time Bandits. It doesn't look good to me. I haven't watched it yet. I don't have anything to say about it other than I will watch at least part of it to check it out, but I don't have high hopes for it. I don't really dislike Lisa Kudrow, but this to me does not feel like where I would want her. This doesn't feel like a role that I would be putting her in. And I'm sure there's no way. Like, I don't think you could make the movie the way you made it back then, like getting the I don't know. I don't know the proper term. Dwarfs, little people, actors in it. The fascinating thing with the movie is they don't explain it. That's just who they are, and I liked it. I think it works in the movie because it just makes them seem more just sort of different. They are this crew that is all a certain way, and it sets them apart immediately from everywhere they are. Not, of course, they're not showing little people in their scene, so they have the freedom to do that. And maybe you could argue that that's a bad thing because little people are not some kind of weird other than us. They are us, and they're as natural as anybody else. So they probably shouldn't be that. But in the movie, I think it does function to help kind of differentiate them from just other folks. If you're going to remove that, I don't know how I think you'd want to do something similar. Just maybe can you do it in a different way? Is there some way we can make them kind of different without it playing in any kind of stereotypes or anything like that? I'm not sure. I don't know what they did was maybe the thing that I think like, oh yeah, and it just seemed too much. Just like, okay, we're gonna have a bunch of quirky people, which isn't quite the same. Now, granted, some of the Time Bandits, the bandits themselves were quirky. I get it, but it wasn't just that. And but the end of the movie of Time Bandits with them evil and then the explanation about why evil exists, and then then basically evil, the little fragment of evil that they forget to take with them, follows the boy, I guess, back home. Or I mean, you could argue, there's some interesting questions you could argue about. Is how did that evil get from underneath the spaceship in evil's lair to inside the microwave, I guess, in the house? Did somebody do that? Was that planned because the kid's parents are awful, but at the same time killing, the parents end up blowing up because when they touch the evil, was that, who was that engineered? Was it just simply bad luck? Was it because he told them not to do it? Whatever. There's some really fascinating things that you could talk about in there. I was looking for some videos about that. I ended up finding a couple. They weren't that great, but I did see I flooded with all the, and the thing is too, is I can't really take seriously a lot of the reviews of shows and stuff on YouTube because it's such clickbaity, I guess, nonsense, really. I just can't trust it. There's so many people who just want to hate on things. I think there's a lot of people who love dragging or who love to watch people drag on stuff, but I can't really take it seriously because you just get so many of it, and so much of it you can't really separate from, well, did they really not like it, or is it really because of this other thing? And that other thing could be many things, but usually it's not anything that really has to do with the product at hand. It's like something that you kind of have to look between the lines, like, oh yeah, they're kind of dragging this. It seems like they really hate the fact that whatever, like the hero is a lady, and now they hate that, and that's why they're kind of dragging it. And so it's when I just see an endless parade of this is the worst thing ever, it's like, well, maybe it's bad. I mean, it looks bad to me. It didn't look good to me. But I'm not taking your word for it because I feel like I could go to your channel and all it's going to be is you dragging all these newer shows, and that if I looked at the throughput of what why or the wherefores, it's either there is no throughput, you're just hating on everything, or the things that at the bottom line I can read through the lines that you're hating are not actually things that are bad or really the fault of the show, a fault of the content. The fault is in you, sir or madam. Judge Master Masterclass says they bet the slight misses are on purpose. Their goal isn't to have the best searches, it's to maximize engagement. Probably. Yeah, probably. But it is tough when you make, I mean, at some point, I think you got to kind of balance it. Maybe they're close enough. But I remember seeing a lot of stuff coming off my Time Bandit search that it was kind of funny. Was not even the new Time Bandits or the old Time Bandits. It was like nothing at all. Time Bandits-ish, but like they're just throwing it in my search. And I remember thinking, like, what does this have to do with my search for Time Bandits? Not much. Not much. But yeah, you're right. I'm sure you're right that there's a method to the YouTube madness. Okay, the Hall of Initiation. Dave says, I really prefer channels where people aren't throwing hate. Yeah, I know, I agree. I mean, it's so easy to do. You know, I could do that. That's the thing. Like, I think, like, certainly amongst my friends, whatever, man, I can get on the hate bandwagon and just go to town. Like, I used to do that fairly often. But I just feel like it's, you know, especially when you're dealing with people who are doing your smaller, like, I don't, you know, the Disney people and those guys, as corporations, these huge corporations, I don't care so much about that. But I think, one, it's easy to forget that even with these big things like a Disney movie or a Star Wars, let's say, like, there are the actors and people around it, they're real people. And I don't think you're really hurting people. Like, people get really affected by this stuff. It really can be hurtful and damaging. And just to say, like, well, they're in the public eye, so there. It's like, no, you know, it's fine to be critical of them, but when that critique just turns into, I don't even know what to call it, just dragging, hating, whatever. You're no longer critiquing in good faith. You're just being mean. You're being nasty. And it's unfortunate. And you know, it's kind of like, and I feel the same way about sort of the dragging of Wizards of the Coast and that stuff. Like, yeah, Wizards is a shitty corporation doing shitty corporate things. But at a certain point, you're giving them more oxygen. And you're doing this because it's not because you really feel strongly about it. It's because you're looking at your bottom line. And there's a bunch of channels that do it. I'm not going to call them out, but then you'll see something like 5 videos in a row. Oh, they've done it again. WotC. Oh, boo. And then the 6th video is, oh, hey, I got to look at the 2024 Players Handbook. Or, oh, hey, I got to use the new WotC, virtual tabletop. And it's like, really, dude? 5 videos you've been talking about how crappy Wizards is, and rightfully so, and now you're just going to go promote their new virtual tabletop, or talk about their new book? How does that compute? If you hate them so much, why are you doing that? And then you're going to go back, and the video after that is going to be more like, oh, the scandal continues. Like, you know, and it's a bummer with some of them, because some of them, when they're not doing that crappy content circus, the Ferris wheel, or no, carousel, then they actually have cool stuff, but you never hear the cool stuff anymore because they're too busy doing these, trying to farm the hate. Stop farming the hate. Dungeon Masterclass says they don't like channels where people are just complaining either, because they're always yelling at clouds for different reasons than I'm yelling at clouds. And then Dave says, at the end of the day, there were real game designers that love what they make. Yeah, and totally. Any of these creative creative endeavors, people are putting their kind of heart and soul into it. I mean, most of the time. I know there's some that literally you can look at and say, like, they're not. They're cashing it in, kind of thing. But, you know, for the most part, especially with smaller people are really putting their all into it. And look, some of it's going to be cruddy. Some of it's not going to be good. And you should definitely call to the carpet effort that doesn't warrant the price or doesn't seem to deliver or whatever. Like, I'm totally not suggesting everybody get, you know, a pass, or everybody's got 8 out of 10, you know, participation trophies for everybody. No, but you can be critical without being just mean. You know, you can be critical without just getting into, and you don't, you know, it's, I think people can tell it when they see it, but I think a lot of people enjoy it. I don't. And it always changes. These same folks will never own up to something that's not true, or when whatever they say and it doesn't actually come to pass or it's wrong, they never come back and say, like, hey man, I was wrong about this. Oh, by the way, like, no, they just on to the next thing. Forget what I said over there. On to the next thing. It is what it is. It is what it is. But it's just a shame because oftentimes these folks have good things that are meaningful to say, and you're not hearing it. And maybe it's on us. I mean, ultimately, like a lot of these problems, it probably is us, because if we didn't engage, and I'm saying we in the global we, if we did not engage with that, it would force the people to get off of that and do the thing that we want. But we engage with that, or enough of us do, that makes that the easier, more profitable way to go. And so that's where they go. So, I'm sure the answer from their standpoint is, well, if you didn't keep watching them, I wouldn't keep making them. But I also think you got to do kind of there's a chicken and an egg kind of thing. And you have to at some point say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a stand and I'm not going to make it. And that's how I'm going to get you to stop. I'm going to stop and not like keep putting food out and hoping people stop eating. Say, well, if you stopped eating, I'd stop putting food out. It's like, well, how about you stop putting food out? How's that? Don't keep putting food out and then blame us for eating it. All right, the halls of initiation. A grand chamber with a raised platform. Okay. No. There we go. At one end. Columns carved. Let's see. Totemic columns of amphibians. Squatting amphibian. A grand chamber with a raised platform on one end, lined by totemic columns of squatting. Two T's. Squatting amphibian figures. I think I'll leave that for right now. So I have to do some connecting up into this area, but I will do that. L2 is what? So the idea here, I'm talking this through because I got to remind myself what's going on. Because remember, if you watched earlier streams, there's kind of a workflow involved here that I'm trying to keep in mind for how the cult operates. People come in here through this welcoming area. If everything goes according to plan, right? So I'm just assuming at this point there's no party, no adventurers interrupting their affairs. People come in, they come through here, lulled into a sense of security, kind of a little bit drugged, and then they end up on this. Oh, Dungeon Master Masterclass likes Totemic. Thank you. I'm not even sure I'm using it exactly the right way. I'll have to double check it. Actually, I'll just do it right now before I forget. Let's make sure I'm using it correctly. Okay, of or pertaining to a totem or totemism. Oh, is it? I don't know. I may need to look. Hold on a minute. No. Of relating to, suggestive of, or characteristic of a totem. I don't know if they're actually using it the way. I'm going to leave it for right now, but it might not actually quite be what I want. But I'm going to leave it for right now. So people come in, get dropped in the pit, taken in the cells. When they got kind of enough people and the timing is right, then they bring them back through here, up through here, and they're marched into this room where there are some rites held. They are then moved in here, and then they kind of go behind this curtain, which has a secret door. Though I don't know if I really, well, I have it in there, so I guess I'll probably leave it. And then that's when they'll come in, and they come in down into here. So people come in, they kind of, so this is basically part of the ritual. So there's this is where the ritual stuff will, which I should probably put in here. Prisoners are ritually ordained. What's the word I'm looking for? I'll use ordained for right now, just because. Marched into the inner sanctum, that's S, by I'm just going to call it the curtained chamber, but I don't know what it is yet. Oh, the tapestry. I'll call it the tapestry. I3. Through all right. Okay. So that's the Hall of Initiation. That's that. And at some point, so here, so again, workflow wise, this is the Q is the high priest kind of quarters, Q for quarters. And so he can kind of come in and get into this area through this back. So he's got some little, he can kind of zip around here. Whoop, 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 whoop. So people congregate. I think the cultists congregate through this area, bringing people with them, whatever. And then there's like a marching, hosannas, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll kind of go through this tapestry and then vanish. They're going through the secret door here. And then there's also this other thing where other folks can be taken down to be fed to the frog dogs down here. Frog dogs! Whoop, whoop! Whoop, whoop! Okay, so that's what's going on there. I2. What's the sound that frog? I know it's like a rivet. Is there a word for the? What would be the verb for the sound a frog makes? What's the verb describing frogs? I'm putting this in croaking. Yes, croak. Oh, this is kind of funny. So I'll just share this because why the heck not? Croak was kind of the word I was looking for. Thank you, Garo. Gary's right there with the croak. Yep. So croak versus rivet, dissecting their definitions. This is from grammarbeast.com. I have no idea about the site. It just popped up. In terms of the sounds made by frogs, the terms croak and ribbit often come to mind, but which one is the proper word to describe this unique vocalization? In truth, both croak and ribbit are valid terms used to depict the sound made by frogs. However, there is a subtle distinction between the two. When frogs croak, they produce a deep, hoarse, and throaty sound, while ribbit refers to a higher-pitched, repetitive call. In essence, croak can be described as low-pitched guttural noise, whereas ribbit is a more distinct and repetitive vocalization. Now that we have a basic understanding of what croak and ribbit mean, it's fascinating to delve deeper into the world of frog vocalizations. In this article, we will explore the reasons behind these unique sounds, the different species that produce them, and the significance of these calls in the frog kingdom. By gaining a better understanding of these amphibian vocalizations, we can appreciate the complexity and diversity of the natural world. So let's embark on this journey to unravel the mysteries of croaks and ribbits and discover the fascinating world of frog communication. All right, so here we go, everybody. A little side trip. All right, on to some water here. I should have made some tea, but I didn't think about it. And I put the water in a thermos, hopefully keep it cooler. Doesn't seem to really have worked. Oh no! I spilled water on my bed a little bit, and on the floor. And I don't have any tissues. Well, it wasn't a lot of water. Let me make sure it's not getting wet. I don't want to get wet. All right. That's all right. Okay. And definitions. In order to understand the nuances between croak and ribbit, it is essential to first establish their distinct meanings first. Let's delve into the depths of each term, unraveling the essence of what they embody. When we speak of croak, we are referring to a vocalization produced by certain creatures, particularly amphibians, such as frogs and toads. This intriguing sound emanates from their larynx, commonly known as the voice box, and is characterized by a deep, hoarse, and guttural quality. The croak, often described as a low-pitched and resonant noise, possesses a distinct timbre that sets it apart from other forms of animal communication. It is important to note that the croak is not merely a random assortment of sounds. Rather, it serves a crucial purpose in the amphibian world. It acts as a means of communication, aiding in attracting mates, establishing territory, and even warding off potential predators. Through the croak, these remarkable creatures convey messages that resonate within their environment, creating a symphony of amphibian language. So there you go. Now on to ribbits. In contrast to the croak, the term ribbit specifically refers to the vocalization produced by a particular group of amphibians, the frogs. This unique sound, often associated with the iconic image of a frog perched on a lily pad, is characterized by its distinct rhythmic pattern and higher pitch compared to the croak. Brian Smith heading to the club to get their croak on? Well, if you are heading out, Brian Smith, thanks for hanging out. If that was just a joke, then I appreciate it. The ribbit, with its repetitive and melodic nature, is a result of the vocal sacs found in male frogs. These sacs act as resonating chambers, amplifying the sound produced by the frog's vocal cords. The resulting ribbit, though seemingly simple, creates a complexity that varies between frog species and individuals. Similar to the croak, the ribbit serves as a form of communication among frogs. It plays a vital role in attracting potential mates, establishing dominance, and signaling territorial boundaries. Through this captivating vocalization, frogs create a symphony of sound that harmonizes with the natural world around them. How to properly use the words in a sentence. In order to effectively communicate and express oneself, it is crucial to understand how to use words accurately in a sentence. That is definitely crucial. This section will provide guidance on how to use the words croak and ribbit appropriately, ensuring clarity and precision in your language. After all, this is called Grammar Beast. How to croak in a sentence. When it comes to incorporating the word croak into your sentences, it is essential to grasp its meaning usage. Made by a frog perched on the branch, letting out a haunting croak that echoes through the night. As we approach the pond, we can hear the frogs croaking in unison, creating a symphony of nature. It feels like there's some kind of, I don't know if this is AI driven or what, but I feel like we're getting repetitive structures here. His voice, worn out from shouting, began to croak as he tried to speak. And then we get, I'm gonna skip. So we get the ribbiting examples are when walking by the pond, we're greeted by a chorus of ribbits. She closed her eyes, listening to the rhythmic ribbit of the floor. frogs. And we get some more examples. Okay, common mistakes to avoid. Don't use them interchangeably because they're not. I mean, it's good to know, right? Context matters. Ooh, they got a lot going on here. All right, Sean. Well, there you go. Now, what are some... Let's see. What are some synonyms for croaking? I kind of like Merriam-Webster for this stuff. Croak also means to kill. I know it means to die, but I didn't know it meant to kill. Squawk, screech, grunt, caterwaul. Doesn't really fit for a frog anymore, though. Yeah, what's the dictionary for caterwaul? To make a harsh cry. Though the most familiar sense of caterwaul, to protest or complain loudly, is not specific to our feline friends, we still think it's the cat's meow, and not without good reason. Caterwaul first appeared in English in the 1300s as a verb applied to the wailing sounds made by cats when on the prowl for a mate. The word comes from the Middle English word caterwawin, also caterrawin, but its origins beyond that are obscure. The cater or cater, I don't know if it's pronounced to be cater or cater, caterwaul. Cater part is thought to be connected to the cat, but scholars disagree about whether it traces to the Middle Dutch word cater, meaning tomcat, or is merely cat with an added. Wawin is probably imitative in origin, approximating one of the domestic kitty's many vocalizations. That's pretty cool. Went from Wawin to wall. By the 1600s, caterwaul was also being used in similar non-cat noises and later as a noun referring to noisy people or things, which makes me want to look at for croak. Can you get anything good out of croak? Early 14th century, cruken of birds, imitative or related to English krakian of frogs, meaning forebode, evil, complain, grumble, is from the mid 15th century. So the meaning to die, the slang, is from 1812. Okay. What is the Middle English word for, well, I don't know. Crooked. Well, I like croak. I'll go with croak. Now, Nothing, Hey Nothing, said that they did research on toads professionally and read a lot of papers on toad vocalizations, and they never heard anyone use croak or rivet in scientific circles. I question if these have precise definitions. Not to be that guy. You are right to question it. I mean, I'm not trying to do anything particularly scientific. And croak is definitely a common word. Nothing. What words did you use? I mean, is there any kind of sort of a simple, I don't mean going down the rabbit hole of defining, getting into it, but was there, oh my gosh, about to drop this water again. Was there any particular word or a couple of words that aren't just super scientific for croaking? I'm going to call that the croaking chamber. High vaulted ceilings. Girls painted of call, vocalization, or chorus. Okay. All right. I can get that. I can dig it. Landscape. shape of the room. Let's see. Amplifies sounds and creates strange echoes when prisoners are marched through here. Cultists line the two side walls and emit loud croaks. Loud croaking noises. Another thing says, very few frogs or toads make noises that would be described as croaking. A lot peep, chirp, or click. But I'll stop talking about that now. That's pretty funny. I mean, it's it's probably true a lot when you kind of get into actual, like, how far the popular image of something is with the reality. Like, there was a great article I read it ages ago. It was about horses, but it was like, horses are not the kind, gentle things you think they are, which just was really fascinating. And it had to do with this, and it feels like such a niche thing, but basically the article was talking about that there's been kind of a global, and maybe it's a bit wacky, but it was a great read. What they were saying was a cover up by horse enthusiasts and organizations of the fact that horses are more violent than they're promoted as being, but then they also eat meat, and that talking about how the Mongols would feed their horses blood, and that there was like a lot of history of horses as kind of meat eating and stuff until like the late 19th century or something like that, where it seemed like it just was really kind of interesting. That made me, I don't know why, but it made me think about that like this image of the frogs and toads very different from the reality. The way that this article was kind of talking about that kind of our image of horses can be somewhat very differently related from like kind of the way they were throughout history up until very recently. But it always struck me as the whole kind of meat eating, blood drinking horses, and then what we think about with horses. That's right. Nothing. You're in your element. RPGs and amphibians. Never trust big equestria. Exactly. Well, I'm still going to call it the croaking chamber for now until I get a better idea. I guess I'll bold this right now. High vaulted ceilings covered in rude murals painted rudely painted murals of a swampy landscape. The shape of the room amplifies sounds and creates strange echoes when prisoners are marched through here during the sacrificial. I don't know what I would call it. Anyway, I'll come up with that later. Route through here, cultists. When prisoners are marched through here, cultists line the walls and make loud croaking noises. Croaking noises can be disorienting. Anyone not there with the ritual. Not sure if that totally makes sense, but it might. Dungeon Masterclass says deer are also monsters. They are one of the main predators of grassland bird chicks. I had no idea. I thought they were just a menace because they multiplied too much. But hey, everyone's got to eat. you know, it's horrible things that happen to chicks. You just see them in the, I don't, not so much anymore, but out in the early summer, because you find them on the sidewalk, like chicks that didn't make it, or maybe got pushed out of the nest, or something happened. I haven't seen any when they're alive. I've always just seen them, and you know, you just kind of like almost like it's a gray mush kind of thing. It's like something that's kind of, and then you just kind of look close, you can see like, oh, the eye and like the beak, and it's like, oh, what happened to you, little baby bird? Not last time, maybe 2 times ago when I was up country. A groundhog got hit by a car right outside the house, on the road right outside the house. I didn't see it happen, but I left. I drove off somewhere. I didn't hit it, by the way, but I drove off and it wasn't there. And when I came back 6, 7 minutes later, it was there. And I actually took a snow shovel and I got it off the road, and then it disappeared. So either I was going insane because it was there. I watched it there. The next day, all of a sudden, sometime it was gone. I don't know if somebody came. Like, I don't know if, because I mean the house is kind of in, not downtown, right? But it's in kind of the main, basically in the town center, more or less. So maybe somebody came and saw it and got it. I don't know, whatever. But it was interesting that it was there for like a day and then it was just gone. And I couldn't figure out what happened. I thought maybe a predator came and took it, but it was gone completely. Yeah, Brian Smith, throat singing. Yeah, I'm kind of vibing off that, but I don't want to call it throat singing exactly, because I don't, you know, this has a evil cultist context to it. I'm not trying to. I don't want to imply that throat singing is some kind of evil cult activity, but yeah, that's, in terms of what it would sound like, kind of sound like that. Okay, so that's in here. So we got the croaking room. Now we have the, what do we call it? The tapestry room. Oops. I3. Oh my gosh, no. 3. Tapestry room. Yeah, yodeling, yeah, for sure. Yodeling, definitely evil cult. Absolutely. Hills are alive with the sound of screaming. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to bold that. So I have that bolded. Good. Okay. Is a large tapestry. Garish scene of a Cyrus throne made of slimy stone in the midst of a swamp. A subtle slit in the tapestry allows access to a sliding door. I'll just call it a secret door. Door behind it that leads to, where does it go? S9, into the inner sanctum. Come on. Leads into the inner sanctum. Prisoners are marched through that door to their final, what's the word? Their final destination. I'll just put it in there for now, even though it's not what I want. Okay, against the far wall, let's see. Yeah, against the two In the middle of the chamber are two columns Against the far wall is a large tapestry showing a garish scene of Bufo and Xeriris sitting on a throne made of slimy stone in the midst of swamp. A subtle slit in the tapestry allows access to a secret door behind it that leads into the inner sanctum. I'll put the thing S9. Prisoners are marched through that door to their final destination. All right, I think that's good enough for the moment. Oh, yeah. Maybe a sliding panel. Yeah. Yeah. Sliding a secret. I'll just call it a secret sliding panel. Get that alliteration. A secret door in the southeast corner leads down to the frog dog pit. I think that, well, maybe I don't know. We'll go with that for right now. Okay, so we got in the middle of the room, in the middle of the chamber, are two columns. I don't know if I need to put, because I got them noted, right? Two columns. Two columns. Two columns frame the view of let's say a large tapestry hangs across western wall. I'm gonna separate this out. Actually, whoops. Secret sliding panel. Okay, so I'll make a note. Studio, yeah, studio right. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Okay. I wish it wouldn't want to caps everything. Sometimes these software, they're doing what they think is a favor for you, but it's not. Sometimes like parentheticals A and then turning it into the at, or yeah, I think it's an at sign, right? That's what it's doing. Like that's fine for some things, but when I actually want parenthetical A in parens, it's annoying every time that I have to go back and find where it's converted them where I didn't want it to. And the same thing there. Like I don't know, my just style for that. I suppose I could caps it, but right now I don't want to. It's doing it anyway. Which means I got to go back and fix it. And then sometimes you make an edit and it'll see it again and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to fix it for you again. And then you can miss it. And suddenly it's like, oh, why is that caps? Or why is that an at sign instead of a in parens that I want? Okay. Tapestry shows a garish scene of All right, so let's just read this from the top. 2 columns frame the view of a large tapestry that hangs across the western wall. Actually, from the croaking chamber. From the croaking chamber, 2 columns frame the view of a large tapestry that hangs across the western wall. Behind it is a secret sliding panel that leads into the inner sanctum. Prisoners are marched through that door to their final destination. I'm going to probably put that as a note also. In the southeast corner, a secret door in the southeast corner leads down to the frog dog pit. Yeah, a landing should be I4. And let's see. Yeah, landing. Yeah, I'll call it a landing. Whatever. Whatever. Call it a landing. Call it a schmanding. Landing schmanding. Maybe I should move this. Yeah. Let's do that. What am I going to call? I got to remember. I got to think about what the heck? No. No. See, this is that thing. Thank you. Thinks it's helping me, it's not. I think I'm gonna make some. I gotta make some notes about here. Also, what am I calling this? The during the here we go. Sanctification. There you go. I'm gonna give it a name. Actually, I might have already given it a name. Hold on. I do have this section of how it works. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Right. Okay, that I don't give it a name. I'm going to call it ceremonial during prisoners are ritually consecrated by priest. Tito gloss. Marched into the croaking chamber. 2 and okay, I'll just leave it there. So we got that note. Actually, I'll use that verbiage I like better than what I have. Actually, here we go. Before being marched into the inner sanctum S via the croaking chamber. And let's get it all in there. And tapestry room. So, one of the things is I'm not specifying whether you have to have. I guess one of the things as a GM you can figure out is really, do you want to have this happening while they're there or not? Because you don't have to. It doesn't have to be. I'm not setting this up. There has to be. I'll probably have to make some notes in here. In terms of what's going on while you're here, but it's kind of something you could very much do if you want to, is to have a ceremony taking place. And it also depends on the party's actions and where they're starting out. If you want to have it that's happening or not. I think it's one of the things that makes this a little bit complicated to run. And again, why I would not, at least my first impulse is not to say, oh yeah, you're a new GM, run this thing. It's like, no, I probably wouldn't. Don't think you want to do that. I don't think you want to do that. But it adds another toy that you could play with as a GM. If you want to have these being like, it could be, you could, I suppose I could have some dice in here rolling. Maybe you could roll dice every how long to see, like, hey, they're going to be starting the ritual and kind of how long it takes. I should probably put that in there, because then maybe just to make it more gameable and easier to use. But it's one of the things I think I'm definitely going to leave up to the GMs, is if you want to run this where there's a ritual, like they're running through some part of the thing, whether it's the gathering, doing this initiation, or whether they're doing a final thing in here or somewhere in between, you're kind of, that's going to be your call. GMs, that's going to be your call. I'm not going to. Maybe I should give this a better name too. Through the slit in the tapestry. Door. Because certainly, in a way, that's definitely one element. If you wanted to get back there, depending on what the party's goals are, if the party's goal is to get in their sanctum, they could certainly try to basically hide in some prisoners. They could figure out a way to smuggle and get their stuff in, but hidden in a way that they could, using illusion magic or something else, to pretend to be prisoners, get in with the prisoners. They'll be marched into the inner sanctum. Could be. Though it might be, I might have think about some effects of like the croaking room maybe does something to you, or save versus something, or get kind of disoriented. Since I mentioned it. But it's another kind of lever that you can pull, or another sort of toy in the tool in the toolbox, a toy in the toy chest, however you want to put it. Okay. So during ceremonial prisoner sanctification, like I said, I think I'm going to come up with another name for that ritual. I keep. Oh, I guess not. Never mind. When hearing the croaking chorus for the first time, make a save. Oh, where's my handy dandy? Hold on a second. Okay, what save? What save we got here? I think paralysis, breath, ray, or poison. No magic wands. No paralysis, or turn to stone. Dragon's breath, rods, staves, or spells. Maybe I'll call it spells. I guess I'll just make it. All right, now, what does that disorientation gonna look like? What kind of spell effect would disorientation look like? Let's see. So I'm in the basic book. We've got not gonna be charmed in person, no. Detect magic, no. Floating dust, no. Hold portal, no. Light, no. Magic missile, no. Protection, no. Read languages, no. Read magic, no. Shield, no. Sleep, no. Ventriloquism, no. No. Continual light, no. Detect evil, no. Detect invisible, no. ESP, no. Invisibility, no. Knock, no. Levitate, no. Locate object, no. Mirror image, no. Phantasmal force, no. Web, no. Wizard lock. So, in other words, none of those. Where are the cleric spells? Could it be a cleric spell? Cure light wounds, no. Detect evil, no. Detect magic, no. Light, no. Protect from evil, no. Purify food and water, no. Remove fear, no. Resist cold, no. All right, so basically none of these. So let's go to the. Or wait, do we have a? Hold on a minute. Are there any? What monsters might have something I could use? White apes, no. Bats, no. Bears, no. Beetles, no. Berserkers, no. Boars, no. Bugbears, no. Carrion crawlers, paralysis, but no. Cats, no. Cave locusts, no. They just make a lot of noise. Doppelgangers, no. I don't think dragons, no. Dwarves, no. Elves, no. Gargoyles, no. Ghoul touch, no. I don't want it to be paralysis. I want it to be something else, like a confusion kind of spell. Gray ooze, no. Charm, no. No, 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 no. Come on, man. Where's all the good stuff? Where are the good leads? Where are the Glengarry leads? All right, I'm just gonna go to spells. Rust monsters, no. What about rats? Is anything in the rats? It's not poison. They're not dying. Shrews, vipers. Oh, I always like the crab spider. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Crab spider. Fools. Okay, let's look in the expert set. See what spells we have here we can mine. Or mime, if that would work better. All right, so now cleric spells. We already looked at first and second and third, maybe? Did we? No. What are asterisks? Are they the ones that, because I think we get some new ones? No? Oh, those are ones that can be reversed. Continue like cure disease. No. Bless. No. No, no. Cause fear. Remove fear. Cause fear. Let's see that one. That's a first level spell too. So that's kind of. Remove fear. So where was call? Let's see. So remove fear. Oh, I see. I was looking at the wrong way. They have them on a level, not. Oh, and it's not in here because it's in the other book. Oh, I've been foiled. Players can spell simply reversing the required words and hand gestures. Well, what does cause fear look like? All right, this is getting the complexity. The complexity. Okay, let's see. I'm scrolling back down. I know riveting streaming. So where's remove fear? Okay, remove fear. When the cleric casts a spell and touches a creature, the spell will calm the creature, remove all fear. The recipient is running away due to magical fear. He or she may make a saving throw versus spells. Adding a bonus to the roll equal to the level of the cleric. For example, third level spell will give at the third level cleric will give a bonus of a +3 to the roll. Okay, but you know what? I'm going to pull it up on the PDF because I don't have a good. I need to look up fear effects. Hold on a second. Let's find. Let's find basic. Where are you? Let's see. Here we go. Monsters. So I guess in this case, dragons probably would have been good because I'm guessing dragons will have a fear effect. Devil's swine. Are dragons not here? Yes, they are. Right, dragons are here. Why are they not on this list? Oh, I'm in the expert. No. Oh, I am in the expert set. I need the basic set. Adoy, adoy, adoy. Okay. Monsters. Monsters. Monster list. Oh, here they don't get the. Come on. Who are you trying to? What are you trying to do? Okay. Dragons. Here we go. Dragons are able to race. I just want to read about a fear effect. I probably should just, let me see if I can search. Let's see. Fear. Fear is the mind killer. Yeah, I got that part. Okay, running away in fear. React with fear. Fear some. Away in fear. Wait, what's this? Giant shrews often choose one area to hunt in. Okay, well, their attack is so ferocious, and when they attack any creature, 3 hit dice, third level or less, the victim must save versus death or run away in fear. All right. Well, that's it. What about you here in the expert set? They fear blink dogs. That's good to know. Paralyzed with fear. Oh, Wanda fear. Well, let's see. Wanda fear. What do you do? Oh, I suppose I could. Wanda fear. Swallow produces a cone of fear. The savers want to run away. All right. Well, there you go. All that for not a whole lot. That's okay. Disoriented. When hearing the croaking chorus for the first time, make a save. Make a save versus spells or become. Maybe I'll just say anyone. Anyone hearing this say the croaking chorus first time. Must save versus spells or become disoriented and attempt to flee from the chamber in a random direction. So you don't want to do. Oh, by the way. Okay, so that was that was the croaking chamber. We are here. We did the tapestry room. I3, I4. Nope, I need to go back to normal. There we go. I4. Landing. I don't know. I guess I'll call it hidden landing. Hidden landing. Yeah. Sharp. Sharp odors rise up from the stairway that leads down to a down and down into a tunnel. Tunnel. All right. Sharp odors rise up from the stairway. I'll just sharp. I don't know. Rise up from the stairway. Lead to a rough-hewn tunnel. Connects the landing to the frog dog pit. I5. I don't know, musty. Sharp, putrid odors combined with a damp, musty air. Sharp, putrid odors combined with a damp, musty air rise up from the stairway. The stairs lead to a rough-hewn tunnel that connects the landing to the frog dog pit. There's descend. Tunnel. Okay. And then finally, I5. Dog pit. The frog dog pit. Should probably put frog dog. I should probably dash it. I'll probably have to go through and. Oh, my chair. Oh, yeah. Okay. What else is going on? Oh, it's a coastal flood statement. That's what my device is all about. Coastal flood. But you know what? It doesn't tend to affect me. And I say that, and this will be the one time it will, but it won't. I'm on kind of the side of the downward sloping of this part of Brooklyn, but I'm still upslope from a bunch of other places. So I feel all right. Frog dog pit. What would be the unfinished? But I don't mean in that it's not complete. I mean that it's not hasn't been masoned. Natural. Oh, cavern seems like, does a cavern denote size? Because it's not a big space. We're talking about this area right here. But I'm trying to denote that it's, I guess it's kind of, I guess it's kind of squared off in the image. So maybe it's natural cave has been roughly shaped. In its center is a wide pit. Wide pit. Wide pit. Let's see. A natural cave that has been roughly shaped. In its center is a wide pit. That holds a litter. 1d6 plus, let's see, 2. Frog dogs. A hole in the ceiling of the pit. Leads to the kitchen. L1A. Natural cave that's been roughly shaped. In its center is a wide pit that holds a litter of frog dogs. A hole in the ceiling of the pit leads to the kitchen. The frog dogs feed on scraps, feed on anything thrown through thrown down the hole or on prisoners dragged down from the oh, you know what? I should probably fix that. There should be a way. I'm thinking there probably should be, because right now, if you're going to get a prisoner that you don't want, so if you have a prisoner, I guess I'll just put in here, deemed unfit for sacrifice. And I'll have to make a stat block for the frog dogs. I'll make a note for the pit. It is 20 feet. A radius of roughly 20 feet, and is 12 feet deep. Its bottom is covered in slime and slime water and the remains water on a waste. Victims fed to the frog dogs. All right. The pit has a radius of roughly 20 feet and is 12 feet deep. Its bottom is covered in slime in a layer of slime, fetid water, waste, refuse. I suppose I don't need waste and I got waste, so I want to use refuse. Fetid water, slime, fetid water, waste, and the remains of victims fed to the frog dogs. Certainly, it's a lovely place. You want to visit it for your next holiday. Okay. That is that. Is that? Have we? Did we? Do we? Is that the end of the initiation rooms? I think it is. Or I think it is. All right, so I need a so why don't I do a little different. Something a little different. Then I'll probably wrap it up for the evening. I'm gonna need another. Whoops. I'm definitely gonna need another column. Okay. I'm gonna need. Well, I don't know if I need to do it like that. Well, I will need another column. Maybe I won't use that column quite yet. I'll make another column. All right. Now let's see. How did I do it? I had a stat block. There we go. Dogs. Amphibian. Let's see. I know that's not how you spell caricature. Yeah, I know. I just needed to get. There you go. Mastiffs. Wide and round toed faces. Hand-like bodies. I'm covered leathery hides. The stink of rot. The stink of rot. Something like that. I'll have to I do. I gotta remember, since I'm looking at it, why not? I gotta see. What was I doing for stat blocks? Oops, I'm not trying to do that. I guess it's just the body. I got it. I got you. I got you. I got you now. Um, I don't know how many HD. Not too many. What's a good? Do we have a stop? You know, I was gonna pick up my physical book. Let's just go to. Let's see. There we go. Okay, where are we? We're in the. I'll go to basic first. And let's go to the monsters. Let's see if any monsters, right? The old technique of, I know classically it's like, hey, grab a bear. Stat as a bear, but I don't want a bear. I want something else. Am I using Scribus? Hey, Marcus, I am not using Scribus. I am using Affinity Publisher, which is probably similar to Scribus. It's kind of a competitor with Adobe InDesign. The benefit of publishers is very powerful, like InDesign is, and it is pay. It's not free. I think Scribus, has a free and pay tier. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, might be wrong, but it's very powerful, and it's you pay once and then you own it. So I really like that. Now I know that Affinity has recently been bought by somebody, like Canva or somebody bought Affinity, and hopefully they're going to continue on with the way they've been. But I think if you're serious about doing stuff, there are lots of different tools to use, and people have published stuff with all kinds of stuff. People have published things just using Markdown, converting it out, or using some kind of latex text software, which is used often for a lot of academic papers and things. People use some version of text. But I think that Affinity will put you right if you don't mind spending a little bit of money on it. They sometimes have really good deals on Affinity, but you know, Scribus, I haven't used it myself, but I've heard about it. It's obviously another option. It's just not. I'm just not using that one. Let's see what kind of dogs. What kind of dogs have we got? I could use a beetle. Oil beetle. What are the beetles? The beetles. Oil beetles are 3-foot long giant beetles that have something. Bro, okay. When attacked, they will squirt oily fluid. No, I don't want a squirting. Tiger beetles are 4-foot long with striped carapace. Carnivorous. Armor class 3, 3+1. I kind of like that I kind of like. All right, so let's. All right, so I'm gonna go. Oh, this is. I'm not sure. 2. I'll start with 2. Whoops. I think I was holding it. All right, I'm not gonna get caught. I'll come back and reformat it. I don't want to get caught up. Let's see. AC as leather. 1 times 1. 1d3 plus special. Move. Interesting. These beetles move faster than bears. That's pretty impressive. Dave has used Affinity for 2 books. Yeah, I think not to say not to use Scribus or anything, but I feel like if I was starting out, I feel like if I was starting out and I had some budget, I think I would budget in for the. I feel like I would just budget in for the Affinity suite. I think Brian Smith, not at all like a corn dog, a frog dog hybrid. I'll give them the 150. I don't even know if I'm really using movement so much. So a French bulldog, but bum. I suppose. They don't tend to scare. All right. Right. Transmits a bacteria that infects the victim. Animal handling rule. Well, I mean, this is for. I mean, by default, we're talking OSR kind of game. So I don't know where if. Whoops. I don't know if animal handling is going to enter into it so much. Why is that? Is that off? Why am I? I know I shouldn't bother with it now, but what is going on with that paragraph? Is it the? Oh, that made it even worse. Hold on a minute. What am I doing here? Left indent. Or if I go to 0, there we go. I kind of wanted to maybe indent it a little bit. I suppose I could put, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Is it just like a charisma check? There isn't really, so we don't have an animal handling. There's no animal handling skill. There's something like a charm monster, but I think you have to, I'm not sure with charm monster. Well, let's see. Hold on. That would be in the expert set. I'm pretty sure because it's a high level spell if it's there. Not everything is there. I don't remember what edition charm monster shows up, but it probably is here. I think it's here. Let's see. But there's no, for one, if you're playing something BX, there's no druid. No druid at all. So you don't really have to worry about that. If you were to bring in a druid like through OSC Advanced or something like that, I don't know. I'd have to muck around with it. I wouldn't mind. Like I wouldn't personally care if you've got if you can make it happen. But they're kind of gross. They're definitely, you'd have to hide it. It eats things. So I suppose you have to figure out how to make it happen. I'm not sure what letter is Charm Monster. This spell affects all creatures except undead, like a charm person spell. If the monster's charmed, if 3 or less hit dice, roll 3. Okay, yeah, all right. It doesn't say you have to understand it, so basically they can do it. So you could use, so Charm Monster would be which is 4th level spell, would be the by the book way of doing it. There's no animal handling skill. So by the book, you'd have to figure out a way. Like you'd have to adjudicate where you see fit. These things are like, they're corrupted dogs, basically. Sort of these amphibian canine hybrid things. So whether you feel like they're kind of unnatural aberration, they're abominations basically. So whether if you feel like someone would want to do that, and then you could that an abomination could be animal handled in that way, it's up to you. But yes, if they had access to Charm Monster, they absolutely could. The frog dog bite transmits a bacteria that infects that. I'm just gonna say. I don't know if that's quite the right word. Let's change this. If bitten, a victim must save versus poison, become infected by a what's the word? What's the Brian says he's gonna try to at least capture one. Hey, I'm actually the one I'm thinking about, maybe I should go here. Let me look it up. Because I have an idea. I have an idea for what it is. And I will show. So conceptually, whoops. What happened? There we go. Conceptually, this is what did you do? Trying to merge these windows. Thank you. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. The Komodo dragon has a venom. Well, it's not. I heard it's like there's actually a like a bacteria in there. Oh, wait a minute. So maybe this is wrong. So my idea was wrong, but the idea I had. So let's see. So Komodo dragons, I thought my understanding was that there was bacteria in their saliva that would bring down prey. But they're saying now apparently that maybe that's not true. Although previous studies proposed that Komodo dragon saliva contains a variety of highly septic bacteria that would help bring down prey, research in 2013 suggested that the bacteria in the mouths of Komodo dragons are ordinary and similar to those found in other carnivores. Komodo dragons have good mouth hygiene. To quote Brian Fry, I don't know who that is, but hey, quote, after they're done feeding, they will spend 10 to 15 minutes lip licking and rubbing their head in the leaves to clean their mouth. Unlike people have been led to believe, they do not have chunks of rotting flesh from their meals on their teeth cultivating bacteria. They do have a slashing bite, which normally includes a dose of their neurotoxin venom and anticoagulant saliva. Komodo dragons do not wait for prey to die and track at a distance as vipers do. Observations that in hunting deer, boar, and in some cases buffalo reveal they kill prey in less than half an hour. Oh, well, see, this is totally different than see here is busting myths. First frogs and toads and their calls and choruses, and now Komodo dragons. See, I was thinking it was like the slow thing, but no, apparently not. But yeah, I was gonna use Komodo dragons as kind of the source. So they do have a anticoagulant saliva and neurotoxin venom. Let's read about this. In late 2005, researchers at the University of Melbourne speculated that parenti, Varanus giganteus, other species of monitors, and agamids may be somewhat venomous. The team believes the immediate effects of bites from these lizards were caused by mild envenomation, bites on human digits by a lace monitor, a Komodo dragon, and a spotted tree monitor all produce similar effects: rapid swelling, localized disruption of blood clotting, and shooting pain up to the elbow, with some symptoms lasting for several hours. All this is increasing Brian Smith's desire for a frog dog. Hey, glad I can help. In 2009, the same researchers published further evidence demonstrating Komodo dragons possess a venomous bite. MRI scans of a preserved skull showed the presence of 2 glands in the lower jaw. The researchers extracted one of these glands from the head of a terminally ill dragon in the Singapore Zoological Gardens and found it secreted several different toxic proteins. The known functions of these proteins include inhibition of blood clotting, lowering of blood pressure, muscle paralysis, and induction of hypothermia, leading to shock and loss of consciousness in envenomated prey. Envenomated prey. That's great. As a result of the discovery, the previous theory that bacteria were responsible for the deaths of Komodo's victims was disputed. Other scientists have stated that this allegation of venom glands, quote, has had the effect of underestimating the variety of complex roles played by oral secretions in the biology of reptiles, produced a very narrow view of oral secretions, and resulted in misinterpretation of reptilian evolution. Oh, yeah, so take that. According to these scientists, reptilian oral secretions contribute to many biological roles other than to quickly dispatch prey. These researchers concluded that, quote, calling all in this clade venomous implies an overall potential danger that does not exist, misleads the assessment of medical risks, and confuses the biological assessment of squamate biochemical systems. Squamate biochemical systems, now hiring. Evolutionary biologist Schwenk says that even if the lizards have venom-like proteins in their mouths, they may be using them for a different function, and he doubts venom is necessary to explain the effect of a Komodo dragon bite, arguing that shock and blood loss are the primary factors. Well, there you go. So there's actually a lot more disagreement than I would have imagined about Komodo dragons. But that was my idea. So anyway, the bite's just going to cause, I guess, paralysis is probably a good. Brian Smith says, so wild thinking about how much research we have on toxins. Like, imagine how much less info there is culturally on it due to people getting envenomed to probably dying in the wild. Yeah, totally. I mean, especially back in time before we had them. I mean, it's interesting that some of the stuff is just kind of now being discovered, because we've had Komodo dragons in captivity in zoos. There's one at the Bronx Zoo that's, I don't know if it's maybe not the same one. I don't know how long they live. That's definitely been there since 2009, 2005. So it's crazy that they hadn't really had a chance to poke around in there in a, I don't know, a carcass or some kind of specimen before. Or maybe they just ignored it because they thought they knew what was going on. I don't know. Dave says, science is all about disagreements and swaying people to your views with solid arguments. Absolutely. Okay. If bitten, a victim is safe versus poison, or become paralyzed for, I'll just say safe. Yeah, Brian says, even in the wiki, it's like, no, they don't have chunks of meat in their dagger like fangs, creating bacterial venom. And that was probably the accepted cause for like ever. Yeah, because no one had just looked further than that. And you know, to Brian, your point, there's the cultural part of it, and this idea of what reptiles are like and what they do, and then we slowly unravel that through watching them and observation. And suddenly people are saying, like, hey, wait a minute, they seem to be cleaning their mouths. And if they're cleaning their mouths, then they might not be keeping it dirty in, you know, for bacteria growth. And if they're not keeping it dirty for bacteria growth, then maybe that's not it. But then people are still getting things like bites and having their arms get all swollen and stuff. So what is it? And then maybe there's venoms. And then other people saying, whoa, maybe it's something else. Very much old timey myth. Yep. Yep. I wish there was maybe, I don't know if I want to, do I want to go something more special with these frog dogs? I'm not gonna work on it now, but I think I want to add some flavor. Well, maybe I'll just add this, their bodies. Over and maybe something else will happen. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I want to add. They actually are. They will probably run and hop. Maybe I should put that they have a good jump. Or more amphibian. So actually, I'm going to slow down there. Are more amphibian than canine. They can jump their full movement. Frog dog polywogs. Oh boy, look at that frog dog polywog. Frog dog polywog. Oh, they travel via slip and slide. Yeah. Oh, but now Dave. Oh, Dave, someone's gonna dislike you. Someone's gonna dislike you for that one. Slip down the stairs. Yep, there you go. Now you've done it, Dave. Now there's an impromptu trap. Let me get my chair. All right. From the hidden landing, the floor is incredibly slippery. Anyone walking here must is incredibly wet and slippery. Anybody walking here must save versus paralysis or slip down the stairs, and through the tunnel, I suppose. If you in tunnel that slopes down. Oh, Brian says that they spotted a young male painted turtle on their sidewalk, picked it up and put it in the shade. Nice. When I not this past time, but the last time I was by myself at Studio B, there was a frog in the living room. I don't know how it got there or why it was there. I'm not really by a wetland area, but I took it outside. But it was definitely weird. I'm watching TV in the living room and suddenly I see this thing hopping out and it's a frog. I was like, what the heck is a frog doing? over there. Maybe it was telling me I should have been working on this instead of watching TV. Good thing to save. Always save your work. That's one issue I've had with Affinity. If it's something's happened to crash and I didn't save and I lost some work. Tree frogs. Yeah, I haven't. The thing is, I haven't seen it. They're not something I see around there. I mean, I'm not, I'm there all the time in a sense at the house, but I'm not there for extended periods. So there's lots of stuff I don't see. Like we've just started seeing bears more recently. When for the longest time I'd never seen a bear up there. Now we've seen bears a couple times, but I've been told that at least once there was a bear that was basically hanging out, sleeping in front of the house in the driveway. It was just not sleeping, hanging out there doing something. But I've never could imagine it in my brain that would happen. But we've seen bears now, but bears all over the place. To the fact that neighbors and things will say, like, "Really, you haven't seen a bear?" Like we're kind of shocked. And I'm like, "No, I haven't seen one." So I think the longest at a stretch we're usually there for at a time is about a week. And if there's a big break, we'll go up there and maybe we'll spend a week up there. And then we'll be back. And then, but it's a few days here, a few days there. So while we're there fairly often, sometimes you just don't see things because you're just not, you have to be there. I feel like with the zoologists and things, you got to study something, right? You got to be there for a long period of time. You can't just be there for 3 days and then leave. So there's a lot that we don't see. All right. Well, I'll stick the frog dogs like that for now. And I'll have to clean up. I mean, I got a lot of stuff to clean up at the end. But I got a section done, which I'm super happy about. Or done, quote unquote done. First pass kind of done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably call it quits for tonight. And then I've got 2 more sections that I need to rough out entirely, being this inner sanctum section and then this back section. This back section will probably be the easier. I mean, this one was pretty straightforward and easy. This one will also be pretty straightforward and easy because it's just got living quarters and some things and escape path and whatever. And then this is going to be the complex one, just because it's the pool where the toad demon, you can get to the toad demon's realm and some other stuff. And then it'll all be about, well, I don't even want to speculate ahead of that, but it was good to get this part some more done. Brian says that trail cams at least have let me see more animals around at family cabins and stuff. Pretty wild seeing some of that. Yeah, I've thought about, I do want to set up a trail cam up there, or even just I don't know, like a ring cam or something, but it's pointed more out towards the area where I think a lot of the animals come from. It'd be cool to set something up. So yeah, I'd love to set one up. I just need to do it because yes, I feel like there'd be a lot captured. Not all of it grand, but deer, foxes. I think there's a lot of foxes up there. The odd bear, turkeys, groundhogs. There's a pond up there where we see beavers sometimes, which is kind of fun. I actually see them active in the little lake, tooling around, eating vegetation. So that's some good stuff. All right, folks. Well, thanks so much for hanging out. 3.5 hours, I think, is a pretty good run for one of these. I'm going to be back at it tomorrow. I'm not sure what time. I have to fight my inner call to be lazy and watch more kung fu movies and stuff, but this was productive. I hope it was at all fun. 66 levels, yeah. Just one level, but a fair amount of dungeons. I didn't even count all the rooms, but there's a fair amount of rooms here, especially since I'm doing hallways too, but one level. And then we got 2 more sections. These 2 sections left to do entirely, and then it'll be about going back through and figuring out how I want to do wandering creatures and whatnot. But I'll save that for the next one. Thanks a bunch, folks. Have a great night. Hey, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Hopefully it'll play as well as you think it looks. So we shall see. But I'll be back at it tomorrow. I will, just FYI, if you're in here and you caught part of it and you feel like catching the rest, I'm going to turn this. It's going to be hidden, or what they call unlisted, but it's going to go in the working streams playlist, and I'll throw a note on there, so if you want to check it out, you can go in there. It'll just be like our little hidden little secret. How's that? I'm just kind of to see if that works with just in terms of what things get surfaced to the channel from other people who I know some people really love this stuff. Other people really don't love it. So I'm trying to kind of find a way to balance that without making a whole new channel, which would be another option for me to make like, hey, working channel. And I'll just do that stuff in there. I'm trying to keep it to one channel just for my own sanity and whatnot. So that's kind of how I'm doing it. Any case, I will let folks know where stuff is. I'm gonna watch a little bit more TV, kind of unwind, let all this stuff we've been going on about filter into my brain, hit the sheets, and then we'll see if I can get back at it tomorrow. All right, folks, game on. Talk to you later. Bye now.